Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Ninja World. Start with a shock fruit, save Tsunade from War Demigod. Chapter 21. Konoha, Senju Clan, in a small courtyard in the clan's land. A girl with long burgundy hair and a little baby fat face, but with a delicate appearance, was sitting in front of the stone table in the yard, holding her chin in her hands, staring at the sky in a daze. Kushina, I'm here to see you. At this moment, a girl wearing a dress with a pattern of table tennis rackets walked in from the gate. Ah, Makoto, you're here. Uzumaki Kushina looked at the girl who walked in, recovered slightly, replied to the girl, and immediately began to be in a daze again. Hey, Kushina, you look like this, but I'm sorry for the title of Red Pepper. Uchiha Makoto, looking at Kushina who was in a daze, sat helplessly opposite her. Oh, really? Hearing Makoto's words, Kushina replied listlessly. Seeing this, Uchiha Makoto shook his head slightly, put the bento he brought on the table, and joked, okay. Don't think about your Yiming big brother, he is taken care of by Master Tsunade, and everything will be fine. Yes, come and see what I brought you. Kushina heard the words and saw the bento brought by Makoto, and I have to say that Makoto is indeed her best friend, and the bento brought by her are all she likes to eat. However, at this time, she really had no appetite at all. Because, just yesterday, she received news that Sister Tsunade and the others had already begun to confront Hanzo in the Land of Rain. That is the demigod and demigod of the ninja world. Now that her Yiming big brother is on the front line, it's no wonder she has an appetite. Thinking of this, a nameless fire rose in Kushina's heart. She stood up abruptly, slapped the stone table in front of her, and complained dissatisfiedly, I really don't know what Lord Hokage thinks, knowing that Yiming big brother can only do physical exercises, why did you let him go to the front line? Quote. Humph. Hearing this, Uchiha Makoto's face changed slightly, he looked around carefully, and then walked to Kushina's side. Kushina, you can't say that. You also know that we Konoha are now facing several large ninja villages, and our troops are simply not enough. Think about it. Most of our graduates have gone to the battlefield, haven't they? Humph. Hearing this, Kushina became even more dissatisfied. Yes, many of our classmates in this class have indeed gone to the battlefield, but they are all just sent to deliver supplies. Kushina put on her waist, and her red hair fluttered. Look, that sissy, or what about our chief student this year, what is his mission now? Protect the frontline supplies. And what about Yiming big brother? He has no ninjutsu talent, and a taijutsu ninja, but he was assigned to the front line, 10 years old. He was sent to the front line when he was 10 years old, so I asked, besides Yiming big brother, are there any other 10-year-old ninjas on the front line? Third generation wants Yiming big brother to die. Quote. Kushina said, her eyes were already red, and large tears fell from the corners of her eyes. Since the country of the vortex was destroyed, she was taken to Konoha village. Although, in Konoha village, she was taken care of by Tsunade's sister and Mito grandma, but as an outsider, she was not welcome at all among her age. For Kushina, who had just experienced the pain of destroying the country, the unfamiliar environment, and the rejection of her peers, Kushina, who was silent and fearful, became even more gloomy in her heart. The appearance of Yiming was like a ray of light that illuminated the entire darkness, saving her from the darkness. Therefore, even though Yiming is a crane tail and can only practice physical skills, she is very dependent on Yiming and trusts her very much. However, since Konoha has sent Yiming to the front line, this will undoubtedly send Yiming to death. How can this make her not angry? Uchiha Makoto listened to Kushina's words and looked at her with a somewhat complicated look. Then, he patted Kushina's shoulder in anger, gently pulled her hand, and pulled her back to sit down. Okay, it'll be alright. Isn't the front line being taken care of by Tsunade-sama? Uchiha Makoto said, holding a piece of sushi in front of Kushina. Eat it. This is your favorite squid sushi. After listening to Makoto's persuasion, Kushina sat down and started tasting the sushi brought by Makoto, although she was still a little angry. Seeing this, Uchiha Makoto smiled slightly, and then asked in a mocking tone, that Namikaze Minato didn't come to see you today. Kushina, who was eating sushi without a bite, heard the words, put down the sushi, puffed up a small face, and said angrily, forget about that sissy, I really don't know if this guy is taking the wrong medicine. During this time, he keeps bothering me, if Yi Ming Big Brother said he couldn't be violent, I would have beaten him down long ago. Kushina said, and clenched her small fists through gritted teeth. Giggle. Uchiha Makoto saw Kushina's appearance and couldn't help laughing. People are so obviously chasing you, don't you understand? Chasing me? Why chasing me? I didn't steal his money. Kushina stepped in. If he came to me today. Kushina. Before Kushina could finish speaking, a gentle voice sounded outside the courtyard. Immediately afterwards, a teenager with blonde hair and a handsome appearance walked in with a bento and a sunny smile on his face. It was none other than the future fourth Hokage of the original book, Jiraiya's disciple, Namikaze Minato. As soon as Namikaze Minato walked in, he saw Kushina staring at him with his waist on his back. Then he looked at Makoto, who was also looking at him, and the sushi on the table. He scratched his head in embarrassment, and the smile on his face continued. Hi, Makoto is here too. Uchiha Makoto nodded politely at Namikaze Minato. And Kushina doesn't have such a good temper. I just said that this sissy will beat him when he comes again, and before the words are finished, this guy appeared. Kushina stared, viciously, at Namikaze Minato with a bad expression on her face. Namikaze Minato saw Kushina looking at him like this, with a stiff smile on his face, scratched his head and said, 9. Kushina, why are you looking at me like this? Why, beat you up. Kushina waved his fist without saying a word, and slammed towards Namikaze Minato. What? Namikaze Minato was stunned for a moment. Then, he quickly avoided Kushina's fist and said, Kushina, is this a misunderstanding? Why are you hitting me? Misunderstanding. Misunderstanding is big. While chasing Namikaze Minato, Kushina said, I asked you to bother me, I told you not to go to the front line, I asked you to escort only the supplies, I asked you to send Yi Ming Big Brother to the front line. Namikaze Minato avoided Kushina's fist, listening to Kushina's words, his heart was full of grievances. Is he guilty of escorting supplies to the front? Yi Ming's presence on the front line has nothing to do with him. Namikaze Minato is a grievance. Although he also likes Kushina, he also knows that Kushina likes Yi Ming, but his pursuit of Kushina was ordered by Lord Hokage, so it's none of his business. Oh, however, at this moment, an earth-shattering cheer suddenly entered the ears of the three of Kushina. Kushina stopped chasing, and said with some doubts, what's wrong? Why is the whole village cheering? Hee, the front line should have won. Let's go, Kushina, let's go and see, Uchiha Makoto said happily. Really? Kushina was also overjoyed when she heard the words, and ignored Namikaze Minato, pulling Makoto and rushing out. Has the front line been victorious? Seeing this, Namikaze Minato was stunned for a moment, and then rushed out. Oh, it's amazing. Tsunade-sama, Jiraiya-sama, and Orochimaru-sama have beaten the country of rain. I'll go, it's the country of rain with the demigods of the ninja world. No, my son's friend, his cousin's uncle, came back and said, Lord Tsunade, Lord Jiraiya, and Lord Orochimaru joined forces to fight the demigods of the ninja world for a day and a night, and finally Hanzo recognized the strength of the three adults and gave the name of Konoha Sannin. At this time, the entire Konoha was caught in the cheers, and for nothing else, just now, the battle report of the Rain country had been sent back to Konoha. When the people of Konoha learned that the Kingdom of Rain had withdrawn from the battlefield, everyone cheered. It's really amazing to be able to get such praise from the demigods of the ninja world. The three adults are really amazing, a Konoha citizen said excitedly. Alas, this powerful one is still to come, the people beside him said Yi. Oh, how to say, there are more powerful, Commoner A asked curiously. Citizen B said proudly, well, think about it, who is Lord Tsunade? Shodai's granddaughter, the princess of our country of fire. Even if she is named by a demigod in the ninja world, can Lord Tsunade be satisfied? After God named the three lords Konoha Sannin, Tsunade-sama was furious and a war broke out with Hanzo again. Ah, it's fighting again, the surrounding people exclaimed. It's not. People B shook his head and said, unfortunately, although the three adults are very powerful, they are still too young after all, and they still lost in the end. Wow, when everyone around heard the words, there was an uproar. Immediately afterwards, the commoner B said excitedly, Although the 3 adults have been defeated, there is another strong man on the battlefield, and it is said that this adult is only 10 years old, and he rescued Lord Tsunade and the others. Moreover, one person alone fights the demigod of the ninja world, and one person, the adult who is said to be only 10 years old, actually faced a strong man like the demigod of the ninja world alone, and he did not fall behind, and even killed Shinobi. The summoning beast of the world demigod, Sanshoyu. Wow, when the people around heard this, there was an uproar again. Alone, fighting the demigods of the ninja world alone, and also killing the Sanjiao fish, the most important thing is that the adult is only 10 years old. It's impossible to hear that. Hey, are you blowing it too far? Fighting the demigods of the ninja world alone, and killing the Sanjiao fish, the adult is only 10 years old, how can it be impossible? That's right, this is just bragging. 10-year-old fighting a demigod in the ninja world alone. Are you kidding me? That's right, that's a demigod of the ninja world. You can fight alone at the age of 10. We, Lord Hokage, can't do it. It's unreliable when you hear it. The people around Konoha questioned the words of Commoner B. After all, it is too unbelievable that the 10-year-old alone fought against the demigods of the ninja world. You. Citizen B blushed as he listened to the doubts around him. What he said is true. At this time, another Commoner C said loudly, Uncle, are the ninjas on the front line of the Kingdom of Rain. Killed the Sanjiao fish and fought the demigods of the ninja world alone. It was because of him that he persisted until the arrival of Lord Whitefang, forcing the Kingdom of Rain to withdraw from the battlefield. Yes, I also proved that this is true, and I also received a letter from the front line. Hanzo also gave that adult the title of Konoha Supernova, another Konoha citizen testified. What? Since it's true. When the people around heard this, there was an uproar again. I never imagined that since this matter is true, 10 years old, fighting the demigods of the ninja world alone, and forcing the country of Rain to withdraw from the war, this. Haha, do you believe my words now? Citizen B laughed out loud when he saw the surprised look of the people around him. There is something even more amazing, you would never have imagined that the 10 demigods who fought alone in the ninja world. Who is the genius? Everyone heard the words, and their curiosity was suddenly seduced. After all, they have never heard of a powerhouse who is only 10 years old. 10 years old. When they were 10 years old, what were they doing? Even in this precocious world of Hokage, at the age of 10, no matter how strong it is impossible to be strong. In the crowd, Kushina, Uchiha Makoto, and Namikaze Minato. They were also full of curiosity by the 10-year-old who fought the demigod of the ninja world alone. They also want to know who this person who fights the demigod of the ninja world alone is. Makoto, do you think we know that person? He's 10 years old. He's about the same age as us. Could he be our classmate? Kushina asked curiously. Uchiha Makoto heard the words, thought for a while, and then shook his head. It shouldn't be possible, right? Isn't the most talented person in our class here? After Makoto finished speaking, he glanced at Namikaze Minato next to him. Hearing this, Namikaze Minato scratched his head a little overwhelmed. At the same time, he was also very curious as to who that person was. Cut. Kushina glanced at Namikaze Minato, displeased. And the people around also looked at the Commoner B with great curiosity. Hey, who is that person? Have we met? Yes. Tell me quickly, who is that lord? A 10-year-old strong man. I remember that we, Konoha, don't seem to have such a person. That's right. Who the hell is this person? Tell me quickly. The people around were urging people B one after another. Seeing this, the Commoner Yi smiled, and then said loudly, we have all met that person, he is Yi Ming, Kimura Yi Ming. Quiet. The scene fell silent for a moment. Everyone seemed to have lost their voices in an instant, their eyes widened and their mouths open. Because, in these two ninja schools, there are two people who are known to almost everyone in Konoha. One is Namikaze Minato, who has the name of genius. The other is the famous Konoha crane tail, Yi Ming. And the reason why Yi Ming is so famous is because he appears in Konoha village with Konoha's 10,000 years genin and might every day. Some people even call Yi Ming the tail of the 10,000 years crane. A 10,000 years genin, the tail of a 10,000 years crane, dangling in the village all day long, it's hard not to recognize it. It can be said that there are not many people in Konoha who do not know that one, who has no talent in ninjutsu and can only practice taijutsu. And now, the child who has no talent for ninjutsu and has the tail of the 10,000 years crane. Since he was 10 years old, he fought the demigods of the ninja world alone, beheaded the mountain pepper fish, and forced the country of rain to withdraw from the battlefield. Everyone was so shocked that they were speechless. What? It's Yi Ming. You just said that the person who fought against the demigods in the ninja world is Yi Ming. That Yi Ming who can only practice taijutsu. After Kushina stayed for a while, he rushed to Commoner B in disbelief and asked excitedly. That's right, it's that kid. Commoner B nodded. Really? Is it really him? Kushina got an accurate answer from Commoner B, and the whole person was stunned. Immediately afterwards, she jumped up excitedly, took Uchiha Makoto's hand, and said with a jump, Makoto, did you hear? It's Yi Ming, it's Yi Ming, it's Yi Ming fighting alone in the ninja world. God, beheaded the pepper fish and forced the kingdom of rain to withdraw from the battlefield, it's Yi Ming, it's Yi Ming. Ha ha ha. Makoto, who was pulled by Kushina, looked at Kushina jumping with a smile on his face, and his heart was full of shock. Yi Ming, is he already this strong? Namikaze Minato was equally full of disbelief. Yi Ming, he did it. In a corner of the crowd, a man in a green tights, thick eyebrows, and a beard, listening to the exclamations of the people around him, his face was also full of shock. And this person is none other than the Konoha 10,000 years genin, Might Dai, who is as famous as Yi Ming. Listening to the cheers around, Might took a long time to regain his senses, and then he said passionately, oh. This is youth, Yi Ming is doing well, then I can't slack off, I tripled my training today. Quote. At the same time, compared with the cheers of the whole Konoha village, the Hokage office at this time was quiet and a little scary. Third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen, Konoha's 3 advisors, Shimura Danzo, Udatane Kaharu, Mitokado Homura, the 4 known as Konoha F4, looked at the desk, the Rain Country battle report that just came back, all fell into a state of daze. Obviously, they also knew Yi Ming's solo battle against the demigods in the ninja world, Hanzo of the Salamander, and the battle report of killing the Sanjiao Yu. Even, they know more details than the people in Konoha. Fighting Hanzo alone, and beheading the Sanshoyu. This, Udatane Kaharu recovered slightly, full of disbelief. Hiruzen, this kid must die on the battlefield. Shimura Danzo, with a gloomy face, suddenly looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen and said. And Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at the information on the table with a sullen face, smoking a cigarette, and did not respond to Shimura Danzo's words. Seeing that Sarutobi Hiruzen was silent, Shimura Danzo said coldly again, Hiruzen, don't forget, Kimura Yi Ming came to the front because of our orders. To say that this kid has no complaints against Konoha, I'm afraid you won't believe it, right? And now, this little devil has awakened the unheard of Shui Ji. He just awakened the blood Ji, and at the age of 10, he has the strength to fight against Hanzo. I am afraid that in a few years, this kid will definitely be a disaster for Konoha, so he must be killed before he fully grows up. Quote. After hearing what Shimura Danzo said, Udatane Kaharu and Mitokado Homura all looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen quietly. After listening to Sarutobi Hiruzen, he clicked his bong, glanced at Shimura Danzo, and then said indifferently, the order to let Yi Ming go to the front line was not given by me, but by you. Didi, Konoha Pot King is online. You. When Shimura Danzo heard this, his eyes widened and he almost vomited blood. Shameless, shameless, shameless. Yes, Yi Ming's order to go to the front line was indeed his. Kanama, without your instructions and hints, would I give such an order? Udatane Kaharu and Mitokado Homura were also speechless after hearing Sarutobi Hiruzen's words. At the same time, Shimura Danzo's eyes were full of sympathy. Cough. Rao is Sarutobi Hiruzen, whose face is comparable to the city wall. Facing the eyes of the 3 old buddies, he couldn't help but blushed. Immediately, he looked at Shimura Danzo who was full of anger and said, I agreed with your proposal just now. Look how technical it is. The proposal just now, without saying what it is, I just agreed. If something goes wrong, the cauldron is not mine, but you will be wrong. On the other hand, Shimura Danzo, with a face like the bottom of a pot, gave Sarutobi Hiruzen a vicious look, and then walked out of the Hokage office with a cold snort under the sympathetic eyes of Udatane Kaharu and Mitokado Homura. After Shimura Danzo left, Udatane Kaharu, Mitokado Homura looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen, saw Sarutobi Hiruzen staring at them, and immediately gave a shudder, fearing that they would become Pot King number 1 and number 2. They got up quickly, said goodbye and left. Suddenly, only Sarutobi Hiruzen was left in the entire Hokage office. And Sarutobi Hiruzen watched the three old guys leave, walked slowly to the window, looked at the cheering Konoha village, stared blankly for a long time, then, facing the empty office, slowly asked, "Has Senju Nawaki set off?" Call out. As soon as Sarutobi Hiruzen finished speaking, a masked Anbu appeared in the office. Lord Hokage, Senju Nawaki, left yesterday. The Anbu, kneeling behind Sarutobi Hiruzen, replied. Yeah. Sarutobi Hiruzen replied with a blank face, then turned around, looked at the Anbu, smiled, and said slowly, Bro. I heard that you like Tsunade. Then from now on, you leave Anbu. Go to the Sand Shinobi front. Tsunade is now on the Sand Shinobi front, go. That Anbu, oh no, it should be Kato-dan. He was shocked when he heard the words, and he looked up at Sarutobi Hiruzen. Heart says, what did I say? I like Tsunade. Although Tsunade is very beautiful and has a great figure, but Tsunade has a violent temper. However, facing Sarutobi Hiruzen's gentle smile, Kato-dan felt a chill in his heart, and quickly lowered his head and replied, yes. Well, go. Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded in satisfaction and waved at Kato-dan. Seeing this, Kato-dan dodged and left the Hokage office. In Hokage's office, Sarutobi Hiruzen was alone again. Senju, Uchiha, and Yiming. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at Konoha village again and muttered to himself, I'm all here for Konoha. Rain country. In the sky, it was still raining lightly. And in a wooden house built on stone walls. Yiming looked at the three little ones in front of him and showed a smile, okay. Now I'm your teacher, so let me introduce myself first. Well, I'll take the lead first. I, Kimura Yiming, Konoha's ninja, hobby is cultivation, what I hate, I don't have anything for now, my dream is to stand at the top of this world. Alright, now it's your turn. Quote, say it. Yiming looked at Konan, Yahiko, and Nagato. After listening to the three little ones, they looked at each other, and Konan took the lead in saying, my name is Konan, an orphan of the war in the land of rain. My hobby is origami, I hate war, and hunger. As for dreams. Konan said this, a little dazed, then shook his head, I don't have any dreams, as long as I cannot starve. Hearing this, Yahiko and Nagato lowered their heads slightly. And Yiming stretched out his hand and rubbed Konan's head with pity in his eyes. With a smile, he said to Konan, don't worry. You'll never go hungry again. Yeah. Feeling the temperature on Yiming's body, Konan's depressed mood subsided, showing a sweet smile and nodding his head. Okay, it's your turn. Yiming smiled and looked at Yahiko and Nagato. That's me. Yahiko heard the words, stood up abruptly, and said loudly, my name is Yahiko, a war orphan in the land of rain. My hobby is collecting food, I hate war, my dream is to make the world peaceful. Is the world peaceful? Yiming smiled when he heard the words, and then said, it's a very good dream, but it's not easy to realize this dream. Ahaha, Yahiko scratched his head, then said firmly, I will definitely work hard. Yeah, Yiming nodded and looked at Nagato. My name is Nagato. Facing Yiming's gaze, Nagato was a little nervous, war orphans in the land of rain, I don't have any hobbies, what I hate is. Speaking of this, Nagato's eyes under the bangs suddenly stared at the Konoha forehead protector on Yiming's arm, a trace of hatred flashed in his eyes, and then he quickly withdrew his eyes and lowered his head slightly, I number dreams. Yiming took a deep look at Nagato. Nagato's fleeting hatred just now could not escape his perception, but he didn't say anything. After introducing themselves to each other, Yiming took out a scroll and put it in front of the three of them. This is the method of chakra refining. You can extract chakra first, and then I will teach you the rest. Yes, teacher Yiming, San Shaoji hurriedly answered. Yeah, let's practice. Yiming waved his hand, then, thinking of something, he looked at Konan and said, Konan, can you cook? The three people who were about to leave were slightly taken aback when they heard Yiming's words. After Konan was stunned for a moment, he quickly nodded and replied, yes, yes. Yeah, Yi Ming nodded, then said, I'll ask you to cook when the food I bought comes back. Okay, teacher Yi Ming. Conan nodded quickly. Yi Ming waved his hand and asked the three of them to refine chakra, and immediately got up to buy substances. Although the country of rain is affected by the wars of several countries, many people are precarious and the road is frozen to death. However, this does not mean that the country of rain has no businessmen who come to the country of rain for negotiation. War money, war money. On the contrary, war money is often the most profitable, so Yi Ming purchased a large amount of supplies not long after he went out. When all the trivial matters were done, Yi Ming went back to his room, took out the medical ninjutsu from Tsunade, and started watching. And Yi Ming wanted to learn medical ninjutsu for two purposes. The first is the reason for his shock. Although this shock is powerful and used well, it is comparable to natural disasters, but its anti-shock power is also terrifying. Therefore, medical ninjutsu is an essential skill for Yi Ming. The second reason is because Yi Ming wants to redevelop 8 inner gates by learning medical ninjutsu and understanding the meridian structure of the body. Whether he is strong or not now revolves around the shock path of shock fruit. But he doesn't have the pervert physique like Whitebeard, so he can only rely on 8 inner gates to exert his shocking power. However, the explosive power of 8 inner gates, although terrifying, was only short-lived, and also had side effects, which Yi Ming could not accept. Therefore, Yi Ming intends to see if 8 inner gates can be redeveloped to remove the side effects of 8 inner gates. As a rebirth, he has been poisoned by online articles a lot, and he also has some ideas for the redevelopment of 8 inner gates. At the same time, the land of the earth, inside an underground cave. An old man with gray hair and an old face, but a pair of blood-red eyes and sharp eyes, was sitting on a stone chair, listening to a black thing and reporting the situation. And this old man is none other than the god of the ninja world, first Hokage Senju Hashirama, the same name as the ninja world Shira, Uchiha Madara. At this time, Uchiha Madara was already old, and the domineering aura he once had also subsided, but a pair of blood-red Sharingans exuded a dangerous cold light. Master Class, the above is the information about that kid. That kid has accepted Nagato as a disciple. Now Nagato is learning ninjutsu from that kid. Black Zetsu watched the old Uchiha Madara report. Yi Ming. Uchiha Madara put his chin on his hand, and said indifferently, the limit of blood that has never appeared before. The power of shock. Interesting. Hearing this, Black Zetsu said in a hoarse voice, Sir Ban, that kid is 10 years old, and he has the strength to fight against the demigods of the ninja world, plus that shocking power, his potential is extraordinary. Nagato will stay there. Will the little devil be around? Hey, a demigod of the ninja world. It's just a slightly bigger ant. In my eyes, this demigod of the ninja world can't even compare to a single hair of Hashirama. Uchiha Madara couldn't help sneering when he heard the 4 words ninja demigod. Black Zetsu was speechless, always feeling that Uchiha Madara was feeding him dog food by pretending. As for that kid, the potential is good, but in this world, there is no blood of the Uchiha clan, but it is just a grain of sand. Uchiha Madara Haki pretended. Black Zetsu listened to Uchiha Madara's words, but agreed with it. In his opinion, there is no Sharingan, no Rinnegan, no Otsutsuki bloodline guy, all of them are scum. Even if it is strong, where can it be strong? Is there a Rinnegan awesomeness? Okay, let's observe and observe first. Uchiha Madara waved his hand and said. Yes, Master Class, Mr. Yi Ming, it's time to eat. Okay, coming soon. In the house built by Yi Ming, the 4 of them were eating meals made by Conan. I have to say that this little girl really has the potential to be a good wife and mother. After Yi Ming taught Chinese cuisine a few times, she not only became familiar with the master, but also developed a series of Chinese delicacies by herself, which made Yi Ming unable to bear it. I want to take the little girl with me all the time. Mr. Yi Ming, my current chakra has attained the level of genin, can we learn ninjutsu now? Yahiko said to Yi Ming vaguely while eating his food. Hearing this, Conan and Nagato looked at Yi Ming with anticipation in their eyes. Yi Ming ate slowly, the long-lost Chinese food, and said slowly, yeah. Let's talk after the meal. When Yahiko, Conan, and Nagato heard the words, they were instantly overjoyed, and they hurriedly speeded up their meal. Soon, after the four of them finished eating, they went outside the house. Outside the house, the sky was still raining lightly. However, when the rain fell on Yiming's side, it was all shaken away by an invisible force. Therefore, in the rain, Yiming's body was not even wet. This is what Yiming thought of, the ability to hammer the fruit, and the training method of the body. Now, he is using the power of shock all the time, which is different from the power of shock when fighting. He applied the power of shock to him. And the power of vibration is shaking his skin, internal organs, and even bones all the time. Under this kind of cultivation, his body and physique are getting stronger every moment. At the same time, due to this cultivation method, it requires extremely delicate control, which also makes him more proficient in the power of vibration. Compared to Yiming, who was relatively clean, the three Conan standing opposite him turned into three chickens. However, they didn't care at all and looked at Yiming, waiting for Yiming to teach ninjutsu. Looking at the three chickens in front of him, Yiming smiled slightly, and then slowly said, "You guys have been very good during this time. In a short period of time, since you already have such a chakra, then I will start teaching you now. Ninjutsu. Okay, now what I want to teach you is the most basic and the most fundamental ninjutsu for ninjas." After all, Yiming started to seal, and his speed was so slow that Conan, Yahiko, and Nagato, the three little rookies, could see clearly. This is transformation technique. Boom! Yiming finished the seal, and immediately, the whole person was wrapped in white smoke, and when it appeared again, Yiming turned into Conan. Seeing this, Yahiko and Nagato widened their eyes, looked at Conan beside him, and then looked at Conan transformed by Yiming, as if they wanted to see how Conan transformed from Yiming was different from the real Conan. When Conan saw Yiming turned into her appearance, he was stunned for a moment, and then, not knowing what to think, his pretty face immediately turned red. Boom! Yiming lifted the transformation technique, followed by the body replacement technique, and after the clone technique, he looked at the three and said, "This is the three-body technique, and it is also the most basic ninjutsu of ninjas, promise. This is the three-body technique. Practice scroll." After all, Yiming threw a scroll to the three of them. After Yahiko took the scroll, he said unhappily, Teacher, we don't want to learn this, we want to learn powerful ninjutsu. This ninjutsu doesn't seem to have any power, I want to learn fire style, water style. Wait for powerful ninjutsu." Yiming heard the words and gave him a head scratcher, and said angrily, "Humph. Just learn to crawl and want to fly. Three-body technique is the foundation of the ninja. Although it does not have the attacking power of escaping, it can save lives at a critical time. Come on, I will teach you how to control chakra." Yiming said, and brought the three of them to the edge of a river. He taught the three of them how to tread water using chakra. Then, he brought the three of them to the foot of a cliff and taught them to practice tree climbing skills. However, since there are no trees nearby, this cliff can only be used instead. After arranging the three little animals to practice, Yiming came to a big rock on the cliff alone, hovered and sat down, and started his own practice. Since his current chakra attribute is full, he also has a sage body, plus the medical ninjutsu given by Tsunade, all of which are annotated with Tsunade's notes. Therefore, Yiming at this time had already initially learned the medical ninjutsu given by Tsunade. After cultivating medical ninja, he has a flying understanding of the meridians and acupoints of the human body. The first gate of 8 inner gates starts with the brain, and with each gate opened, the chakra will multiply. And the 8th gate, the location of the gate of death, lies in the heart. Due to the opening of the former 7th gate, the chakra has been superimposed dozens of times, plus the 8 inner gates, the characteristics of chakras riots, when the 8th gate, which is the heart, simply cannot withstand the huge and violent chakra. Quote, "So, if I want to modify the 8 inner gates, I have to start with the location of the 8th gate and quell chakra's riot." Thinking like this, Yiming let go of his mind and began to focus on the 8th gate position in his body. Finally, the eyes looked at the position of the dead door. If I change the position of the 8th gate death gate into the 1st gate, and put the position of the Shu gate and the gate of life, all in the position of the brain, then the position of the death gate is placed in the position of Dantian, what will happen? Yiming thought like this, pondered for a long time, then, gritted his teeth, slowly moved the chakra in his body towards the position of his heart. Chakra follows the meridians and slowly gathers towards the heart. I do not know how long it has been. Yi Ming saw a door. Yi Ming frowned, and then he mobilized chakra and charged towards the door. Boom! Yi Ming frowned, opened his eyes slowly, and fell into contemplation. Undoubtedly, he just had chakra's heart pounding. Portal failed. That portal seemed to be extremely hard, and under the impact of his chakra, there was no single response. It turns out that the heart can't be used as the first door. Is that the reason? Yi Ming, who tried to use chakra again to no avail, seemed to understand why might wore it, or the one who created 8 inner gates. Do not regard the door of the heart as the first door. Not for anything else, just because this door is extremely difficult to open, coupled with the position of the heart, if you don't pay attention, you may die directly. At the same time, I also understand why the heart is so dangerous as the last door. Because only the superposition of the chakra of the 7th gate in front can open this gate in an instant. Of course, such a powerful chakra impact, coupled with the violent chakra, also means death when opened. Is that the only way? Yi Ming hit the fruitless Yi Ming again, his brows furrowed, full of unwillingness. Now he has almost tempered his body to the peak he has reached. Due to the age limit, he wants to improve his strength, and the best way at present is 8 inner gates. However, the brief burst of 8 inner gates, and its side effects, were not what Yi Ming wanted. Suddenly, Yi Ming flashed a light, and looked at his right hand. Wong! A circle of vibrating power gathered in Yi Ming's hands. What if you use the power of vibration to assist? Time flies. Before I knew it, more than 6 months had passed. In the past 6 months, the entire ninja world has been extremely quiet, except for some small-scale wars. Konoha, Sand Shinobi, Rock Shinobi all stopped the war, and even Rayan, who sent the ninja army to the border of the Land of Fire, stopped some small movements. At this moment, the ninja world seems to have restored peace, and it seems that the war has passed. However, everyone understands that this is just the calm before the storm. Therefore, the entire ninja world is extremely depressed under this tranquility. And on Yi Ming's side, he is still trying to change the dead door of the heart to the first door to open the door. And, thanks to the use of shock fruit's shock power assist, there's clearly some progress. In addition to his own practice, Yi Ming did not forget to teach Yahiko, Konan, and Nagato ninjutsu. Still on the rock at the top of the cliff, Yi Ming sat cross-legged with his eyes closed, mobilizing the chakra in his body and the power of vibration, constantly impacting the door. And the door, at this time, is already full of cracks. Under the impact of chakra and the force of vibration, the cracks are more and more, and it seems that there is a possibility of breaking at any time. It's now. Inverse, 8 inner gates, the first gate, open. Boom. Suddenly, Yi Ming snorted violently, and then, he saw Yi Ming's body, the position of his heart, the broken door, which was broken instantly by the huge chakra and the force of vibration. And after these chakras broke through this door, they began to soften, filling the heart in an instant. Ha ha ha. Successful. Finally successful. Yi Ming felt the soaring chakra in his body and the changes in his body, and laughed excitedly. No wonder Yi Ming was unhappy, with the heart as the first gate of the 8 inner gates, although not as before, making chakra furious and explosive. However, it is better than lasting, or even permanent. Because, the position of the dead gate is changed, so that it will not be so difficult to break through when reaching the 8th gate in the future. Therefore, although chakra has increased, chakra is not violent, even, because he uses the power of vibration to assist the destruction of the gateway. Once the 8th gate is opened, it is permanent. Opening the 8th gate is like opening the restrictions in his body. This is the power he possesses. Chunin, is it about the amount of chakra in particular for Jonin? Yi Ming felt the amount of chakra in his body and the changes in his body, and the corners of his mouth rose slightly. He was finally no longer the moment of youth. Rather, the eternal brilliance. However, this way of opening the door is only suitable for me. What a pity, Yi Ming suddenly thought of Might Dai and frowned. Because, he is a war orphan, and he is the tail of the crane who has no ninjutsu and illusion talents. Therefore, his friends in Konoha are not many, only Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Orochimaru are half. The only ones of the same age are the closest Kushina, and her best friend, Uchiha Makoto. But Might Dai is a very special existence to Yi Ming. He is his friend and also his teacher. It can be said that without might wearing, he is a little stronger than ordinary people, and he can't even be cannon fodder. To be honest, Yi Ming really wanted Might to wear and also practice this side effect-free inverse, 8 inner gates. However, if you want to practice this, you must first open the door of death. He knows how difficult it is to be the first to open the door to death. If he didn't have the power to shake, I'm afraid he wouldn't be able to complete this revised 8 inner gates formation at all. And the position of the heart is the most dangerous place in the human body. Even if it is him, he is very careful when hitting the portal of the heart. He didn't dare to use the power of shock to help Might Dai open the door to death first. If he was not careful, he would directly kill Might Dai. Forget it, think about it later. Yi Ming shook his head, put down his messy thoughts, and immediately, a smile appeared on his face. The hardest first door is opened, then. Yi Ming sat cross-legged again, ready to continue to attack the second gate and the third gate. These 2 doors are located in the left and right brain domains. Land of Earth, Iwagakure, inside Tsuchikage's office. Isn't that Konoha supernova found yet? How is his data collection? Tsuchikage weighed Onogi for 2 days, sat on Tsuchikage's chair, and asked the tall and sturdy Lois. It's hard to imagine that the short Onogi would use such a tall and sturdy son. I don't know the situation, I thought that Onogi was green. Father, this is the information about the Konoha supernova. Huang Tu handed a copy of the information to Onogi, and then sighed. I really never thought that a crane tail recognized by Konoha was actually at the age of 10 years old. To be able to compete with the demigods of the ninja world, this is simply incredible. Onogi ignored Lois's emotion, but looked at the information in his hand carefully. And the first page of this document is a photo of Yi Ming. Yi Ming fought the demigods of the ninja world alone, and the news of killing the mountain pepper fish with one punch, after such a long time, the people of the major ninja villages naturally all knew about it. However, at the beginning, everyone did not believe that it was true. After all, a 10-year-old kid, fighting against the demigods of the ninja world alone, and smashing the mountain pepper fish with one punch, sounds unreliable. However, as more and more news came back, and Hanzo announced that he had withdrawn from the battlefield, the shadows of the major shinobi villages did not believe the news very much. But still specially sent to investigate. And this investigation directly confirmed the authenticity of these news. At the same time, Yi Ming's name officially entered the attention of the major shadows. Konoha's war orphans, their parents are ordinary ninjas, and they are not a blood family, and, before this, in addition to taijutsu, ninjutsu, and illusions are extremely talented. Is it a veritable crane tail? Onogi looking at Yi Ming's information, when he saw the last few pages, his brows furrowed. The power of vibration, what kind of Shueiji limit is this? I haven't heard of it before, and Shueiji has just woken up and has it. It can counter the power of Hanzo, which is interesting. Where is this Yi Ming now? Back to Konoha, or, in the Sand Shinobi battlefield? Quote. No, Lois shook his head, and then said, this Konoha supernova disappeared after the Battle of the Rain Country, did not return to Konoha, and did not go to other battlefields, but the news I got from Konoha, it is said that he is still in the country of rain. Oh, did you get the news from Konoha? Anamu heard the words, smiled slightly, and immediately understood what was going on. Then he said, in that case, find his location as soon as possible, and then send his location to Raikage and Sand Shadow. I think they will be very interested. Okay. Lois nodded. Okay. Go make arrangements, the war is about to start again. As time passed, Yi Ming's information appeared on the desks of the major shadows. And the shadows of the major countries also, accidentally, obtained information about Yi Ming, who is still in the land of rain, from Konoha. For a time, the special troops of the major hidden villages entered the territory of the Rain Country one after another. And at this time, the war started again. First, Tsunade mobilized more than half of his troops and rushed towards the country on fire, and even put Sand Shinobi's ultimate weapon, One-Tail Shukaku, into the battlefield. On Konoha's side, due to the addition of One-Tail Morizuru, coupled with Tsunade's Sand Shadow, and Chiyo's sisters another high-level combat power. For a time, the casualties were heavy, and the defense line was retreating again and again. directly retreated into the territory of the country of fire. However, with the breakthrough of Tsunade, Jiraiya, Orochimaru 3 strengths, coupled with the Woodyi Baya Hitaki Sakumo, the battle situation changed again. There was even a hint of a counterattack. However, the house leak happened to reign overnight, and when the war situation turned to Konoha, rock shinobi suddenly joined the battle, directly from the country of grass, into the hinterland of the country of fire. Because of this, Konoha had to divide his troops and let Orochimaru lead some of his troops to block rock shinobi's attack. However, Orochimaru had just brought some of his troops to stop the invasion of the land of earth, and he had been eyeing it. Chen Bing, at Cloud Shinobi, on the border of the land of fire, directly crossed the border and entered the land of fire. In desperation, Konoha had to mobilize troops from Konoha and let Jiraiya lead the major families such as Uchiha and Hyuga to face Cloud Shinobi. For a time, Konoha fought against Sand Shinobi, Rock Shinobi, Cloud Shinobi at the same time, besieging the 3 major shinobi villages. At the same time, Mist Shinobi, who was originally ignoring the world's affairs, also has a posture that is just around the corner. The white horse is over. Unconsciously, 3 years have been spent in this chaotic war. The Second Ninja World War has also entered its late stage, and the casualties of various countries are countless. And it was in such a chaotic battle situation, inside a low cave. Sir Ban, the ninja world is really getting more and more chaotic. Apart from waiting and watching, I am ready to pick up the cheap Mist Shinobi, the 3 major powers of the ninja world, and besiege Konoha. However, the background of this Konoha is really thick enough. In the face of the siege of the 3 major countries, since it can be resisted, it is really amazing. Quote, Black Zetsu, who was completely black and not human at first glance, looked at Uchiha Madara, who was sitting on a stone chair with gray hair, reporting the battle in the ninja world at this time. Humph. After listening to Black Zetsu's report, Uchiha Madara opened a pair of Scarlet 3 Tomo Sharingan and snorted, Konoha is a village founded by me and that guy, how could it be bad? However, the current Konoha is also corrupted. The war has been fought for so long, since the other 3 countries have not been destroyed, it is simply stupid. Quote, hearing this, Black Zetsu was speechless for a while. Are the 5 countries in the ninja world weak now? Obviously, not weak at all. And Konoha can withstand the siege of the 3 major countries, and even has the upper hand. One can imagine the power of Konoha. And listening to Uchiha Madara's meaning, Konoha has been fighting for so long and hasn't defeated the other 3 kingdoms, it seems like a waste, this. However, people also have the qualifications to say such arrogant words. Who is called Uchiha Madara? Lord Ban, I can't blame Konoha for that, but Sand Shinobi used one-tail Shukaku. White Zetsu danced and said, Lord Ban, you don't know, that one tail is so awesome, with 1 mouth and 1 claws, Konoha's ninja will die. It's scary to think about it. If I was photographed, I don't know if I would be photographed to poo. Oh, my poo, what color is it? Yellow, red, or white? I'm so curious. Uchiha Madara listened to White Zetsu's words, but didn't respond at first. When White Zetsu said more and more, the building became crooked, the corner of his mouth twitched, he stood up abruptly, waved his hand, interrupting White Zetsu's research, hockey side funnel, humph. The so-called war now, in my eyes, is nothing but a group of ants that dance more happily. As for the one tail, humph, it doesn't even have the qualifications to dance with me. Say it. Ban looked at Black Zetsu and said, how is that kid doing now? Hearing this, Black Zetsu knew that Ban was asking Nagato, so he said, Kaido, it's very good. In the past 3 years, I have grown a lot. Yeah, Ban nodded, and a pair of scarlet eyes flashed a strange light. Looks like, it's time for that kid to wake up those eyes. By the way, at this time, Black Zetsu seemed to have thought of something. Sir Ban, that kid who teaches Nagato ninjutsu, it seems a little complicated. He seems to have discovered that we are monitoring Nagato, and I suspect that the kid knows Nagato's eyes. Oh, Ban heard the words and frowned. It seems that the plan needs to be revised. On a lake in the land of rain, 3 figures, 1 yellow, 1 red and 1 blue, were speeding across the lake. Water style. Water dragon bomb technique. The yellow-haired boy quickly formed a seal on his hands and shouted loudly. Then, the lake water boiled, and a water dragon rushed out of the lake, rushing towards the red-haired boy. Fire style. Great fireball technique. When the red-haired boy saw this, his hands also quickly formed seals. Then, he opened his mouth and spit out a huge fireball, evaporating the water dragon. Then, he quickly formed the seals again and pressed against the water surface, water style, Uzumaki strangling. Wow! In an instant, the entire lake was like a meat grinder, spinning wildly. The yellow-haired boy was instantly sucked into the water by Uzumaki. Paper escape. 1,000 kills. Whoosh whoosh. The blue-haired girl with a pair of paper wings behind her, looked at the red-haired boy who had just released two ninjutsu below, spread his hands, and then, one by one, 1,000 copies of paper, which were rotated at a high degree, turned towards the red-haired boy. It shot down like raindrops. Wind style. Great breakthrough. The red-haired boy did not panic in the face of the raindrops of paper. After finishing the printing, he pouted and blew toward the sky. Woo! A gust of wind blew out of his mouth, and then, all the paper books were blown upside down and flew back. Don't move, Nagato. However, at this moment, the blue-haired girl did not know when, came behind the red-haired boy, and put a hand on the red-haired boy's neck with a smile on his face. The red-haired boy was stunned for a moment, then a smile appeared on his face, and he stopped all movements. Ha ha, Nagato, you lost again. The yellow-haired boy who had just been swept into the water by Uzumaki came to the two of them and said with a big laugh. Well, I lost again. Nagato bowed his head slightly, his long hair covering his eyes, and nodded in response. Clap clap clap. Right here, there was a burst of applause, and then, the three of them turned to look. I saw a young man with a handsome face and a height of about 1.7 meters, clapping and stepping on the lake, walking over. Teacher. When the three Nagato saw the person coming, they hurriedly greeted them. It was none other than Yi Ming. More than 3 years have passed. Today's Yi Ming, although his actual age is only 13 years old, he is less than 14 years old, but his appearance is exactly the appearance of a 17 or 18-year-old young man. The tall and straight figure, handsome facial features, slightly long black hair, slightly covering the corners of his eyes, especially his pair of deep eyes, makes people look like they can sink in. You are all very good, you can graduate. Yi Ming looked at the three people in front of him with a relieved smile on his face. Hee hee. Conan came to Yi Ming with a smile and took Yi Ming's arm naturally. It's all well taught by the teacher. Nagato and Yahiko both smiled when they saw this. Yi Ming smiled and then said, Then, in order to celebrate your graduation, I will cook tonight. Real. Great. Conan and Yahiko jumped up happily upon hearing this. Nagato also raised his head slightly and looked at Yi Ming in surprise. Yeah. Yi Ming looked at the three of them and nodded. Then, the smile on his face disappeared. However, before that, we need to clean up some mice. Say it. His eyes turned sharply in one direction. Whoosh whoosh. As soon as Yi Ming finished speaking, 7 or 8 figures rushed over and surrounded the 4 of Yi Ming. When the 3 of Conan saw this, they didn't react in the slightest, and they didn't even take a fighting stance, as if they had already gotten used to it. Yahiko looked at the people around him, and said carelessly, Oh. Why is it here again, Is it Cloud Shinobi this time? Conan looked at the forehead protector on the people around him and nodded. This time it is indeed Cloud Shinobi. The ninjas surrounding the 4 people looked at Yi Ming's unmoved appearance, and they were all stunned for a moment. Then, the first person looked at Yi Ming and said, Kimura Yi Ming, the supernova of Konoha, come with us. Yi Ming heard the words, raised his eyebrows, looked at the guy and spit out 2 words, silly bee. Ha ha. Yahiko laughed even more. Teacher, you really didn't lie to us. The guys like Cloud Shinobi are really well-developed and simple-minded guys. Giggle. Conan laughed too. Asshole. Seeing this, the Cloud Shinobi ninja headed was instantly furious, and waved at Yi Ming and the 4 of them. Except for the target, the other 3 were killed. Yes. 7 people around responded. Yo, fight, come on. Yahiko rolled up his sleeves and assumed a fighting stance. Nagato and Conan were also ready to fight. All do it. Quick fight. Yi Ming shook his head, and then, his eyes narrowed, he slowly raised his hand. Wong. Yi Ming's palm instantly appeared a circle of milky white light. At the moment when this layer of milky white light appeared, the surrounding air seemed to be shaken and became unstable. Here, come, the teacher's shock. Yahiko looked at Yiming expectantly upon seeing this. Nagato and Conan are no exception, although they have been with Yiming for 3 years. But they have not seen the teacher's shock a few times, but no doubt, every time they see it, they will be shocked. Because, that is not the power possessed by human beings at all. Every launch is like a natural disaster. Shocked, Cloud Shinobi, headed by him, looked at the milky white light on Yiming's palm, and when he heard Yahiko's words, he frowned and stared at Yiming. The other Cloud Shinobi, while forming a seal, rushed towards Yiming and the others. Lightning style, ground walk. Lightning style, big discharge. Lightning style, one after another lightning style ninjutsu, towards the Yiming 4, smashed the past. In the face of lightning style ninjutsu attacking from all directions, neither Yahiko nor Yiming had any intention of dodging. Seeing this scene, Cloud Shinobi, the leader, frowned even more. He did not attack Yiming with the others, his eyes were fixed on the milky white light on Yiming's palm. The corners of Yiming's mouth rose slightly, and then, his palm clenched violently. Duo. Crack, crack. There was a sound like a mirror shattering, and then, cracks appeared in the air around Yiming and the others. This is. Cloud Shinobi, the leader, shrank his pupils and looked at the broken air in disbelief. Then, he heard a loud noise. Boom. An invisible shock wave, centered on Yiming and the others, charged in all directions. Wherever they passed, all lightning-style ninjutsu was scattered by this shock wave. However, this was just the beginning. When this shock wave shattered the ninjutsu, these Cloud Shinobi were stunned. This shock wave hit these Cloud Shinobi, and then, these Cloud Shinobi sighed with emotion, as if they were being torn apart by force, and there was a burst of pain. And this pain didn't last long, not even a second, not even a scream. These Cloud Shinobi didn't know anything. Because, they have turned into a cloud of blood mist, floating in the air. This Cloud Shinobi, who led the team, was stunned when he saw the scene in front of him. What the hell happened? His subordinates, since they were all killed in an instant. How is this possible? You know, they are Cloud Shinobi's elite assassination team. Except for Jonin, who leads the team, all the players are Chunin and elite Chunin. Such an assassination team, since in an instant, has become the only one. Gudong, leading Cloud Shinobi. He swallowed his saliva and didn't dare to look at Yiming again. He turned around and ran away. Powerful. That guy is just too strong. He had to run, and he had to bring Yiming's information back. And now, he finally knows why several big ninja villages sent out to inquire about the Konoha supernova, but in the end he found nothing. Because, those people were all killed by that guy. Run, can you run? Yiming looked at Cloud Shinobi, who was leading the team, and ran away without any hesitation. He shook his head slightly, and then, his right hand clenched a fist again. Wong. On Yiming's fist, a milky white light appeared again. Let you first, then run 100 meters. Yiming's perceptions were all released, and he had already locked on the team leader Cloud Shinobi. And when the leader, Yun, only had a small black spot left, Yiming's fist slammed out. Empty shock. Kakaka. Boom. Yiming's fist slammed into the air, and immediately, cracks spread, and then, a shock wave, like a tsunami, rushed towards the leader Cloud Shinobi. Where the shock wave passed, a deep hook was plowed out of the ground, the air made a roar, and the ground kept shaking. And Cloud Shinobi, the leader of the team, who was running, suddenly felt uneasy for a while. Then, before he could react, he felt like he was flying. Boom. The leader of the team, Cloud Shinobi, turned into a cloud of blood, and was carried away by the shock wave. The dust has settled. Yiming slowly retracted his fists, clapped his hands, and said to the 3 Konin, "Okay, go back to cooking." Teacher, can you not be so violent next time? It's so bloody every time, it's very bad for your appetite, Konan said with some dissatisfaction. Yahiko and Nagato nodded in agreement. Oh, really? Pay attention next time. Yiming chatted and laughed and walked towards the residence. When Yiming returned, Yiming was slightly taken aback, because a ninja wearing a Konoha vest was in front of their house and was about to knock on the door. And, most importantly, Yiming also knew the Konoha ninja. Namikaze Minato. Namikaze Minato, how did you find this place? In front of his house, the Konoha shinobi, who was about to knock on the door, had blonde hair, a straight body, and a handsome face. The person who came was Namikaze Minato, who was at the same time as him. Mr. Yi Ming. Namikaze Minato, who was about to knock on the door, also found Yi Ming and hurried up to meet them. He first looked at Yahiko, Nagato, and Konan, then looked at Yi Ming. Long time no see. Lord Yi Ming. Yeah, it's been a long time. Yi Ming nodded, then asked suspiciously, how did you find this place? Tsunade and they told you. Namikaze Minato nodded, then looked at Yi Ming seriously and said, Mr. Yi Ming, Konoha needs your strength. Yi Ming frowned when he heard the words, and then asked solemnly, the situation in Konoha is very unfavorable now. Tell me, what is the situation now? Namikaze Minato heard the words, did not speak immediately, but looked at Konan and the others. Seeing this, Yi Ming immediately understood what Namikaze Minato meant, looked at Konan and said, you guys go back to the house to prepare, I'll come later. Yahiko, Konan, and Nagato nodded, then walked towards their house. However, when Nagato passed Namikaze Minato's side, he glanced at Namikaze Minato's Konoha forehead protector with his eyes under his bangs, and then clenched his fists tightly together. He lowered his head slightly again and followed Yahiko. After the three of Yahiko left, Namikaze Minato said to Yi Ming, Sand Shinobi invested the power of the tail beast, and the Chiyo sisters and Kazekage participated in the battle. The battle situation was not very optimistic. The cooperation of the Inoshika Cho trio was barely able to contain them. On Cloud Shinobi's side, there are Mr. Jiraiya and Uchiha. With the help of Hyuga and other families, Cloud Shinobi cannot be defeated, but Cloud Shinobi cannot advance half a step. But Konoha's troops were scattered in various battlefields, and part of the troops had to guard against Mist Shinobi's attack, so there was a lot of pressure on Rock Shinobi's defense line. Quote, as Orochimaru defending over Rock Shinobi, Yi Ming frowned when he heard this, and seemed to have thought of something, but he couldn't remember anything. Namikaze Minato was stunned for a moment when he heard the words, and then he scratched his head in embarrassment, not knowing what to say. Seeing this, Yi Ming frowned even more tightly. What? Isn't Orochimaru leading the defense at Rock Shinobi? Namikaze Minato was a little speechless, then bit his head and said, originally yes. Originally, what's the situation? Yi Ming was even more puzzled. Yeah, Namikaze Minato nodded, and then, organized the language. Originally, the defense line of Rock Shinobi was indeed defended by Orochimaru-sama, but not long ago, Hokage-sama sent Udatane Kaharu, Mitokado Homura, and Shimura Danzo. 3 adults supported, so the command was replaced by 3 adults. I'm going. Yi Ming almost jumped up when he heard the words. Why did you send these 3 goods to the front line? Isn't it a fool to ride a horse? Namikaze Minato's face froze when he heard this, even more embarrassed. Because, as Yi Ming said, that's 3 pit bulls. And Yi Mingtian noticed Namikaze Minato's expression, widened his eyes and asked, isn't it the 3 guys who lost? Namikaze Minato nodded embarrassedly. A month ago, Mr. Danzo led a team to raid Rock Shinobi's logistics and got caught in an ambush. Rock Shinobi's defense line suffered heavy casualties. Rock Shinobi chased after the victory and entered the country of fire again. As soon as Yi Ming covered his face, he knew that this Konoha F3 had arrived at the front line, and there must be something wrong. These guys are good players in internal strife, and they must be the pig teammates who pick teammates externally. Okay, Orochimaru was playing well, but it's okay if he didn't come to support. When the support arrived, he was hit directly at the door of the house. This is simply a pit. And then, what's the situation now? Yi Ming rubbed his eyebrows and asked Namikaze Minato. The Rock Shinobi defense line collapsed, and Hokage-sama had to draw troops from Konoha. Wait, Yi Ming seemed to have thought of something when he heard this. He interrupted Namikaze Minato and asked, how can Konoha still have troops to adjust? Could it be? Yi Ming's face instantly turned gloomy. Judging from the current battle situation, Konoha's troops are indeed almost stretched. And if you want to continue to draw troops, you can only draw those old people and children from some families to the battlefield. Namikaze Minato nodded solemnly when he heard Yi Ming's words. Now Konoha, even the children who are still in the ninja school, and the old people of various families are on the battlefield. Where's the Senju clan? Yi Ming looked up at Namikaze Minato with sharp eyes. Namikaze Minato didn't speak, just looked at Yi Ming. Seeing this, Yi Ming immediately understood. He clenched his fists tightly, his face gloomy. The Senju family seems to be doomed. And many more. He remembered that he had forgotten something. Senju Nawaki, if he remembered correctly, Senju Nawaki died on the battlefield of Rock Shinobi, and it was during World War II. After World War I and World War II, the current Senju clan has withered away, and it can even be said that only Tsunade and Nawaki are left in the entire Senju clan. If Nawaki dies, the entire Senju clan can be said to be dead in name only. And because of his relationship with Kushina and Tsunade, his relationship with Nawaki and the Senju clan is very good. The downfall of the Senju clan is something he doesn't want to see. How could you forget these things? Yi Ming felt a little remorseful when he thought of the scene in which the Senju clan fell into disrepair in the original book. However, it's no wonder Yi Ming didn't keep the rise and fall of the Senju family in mind. Not to mention, it's been so long since he's traveled over, and there are some things he can't remember. That is to say, before he obtained the system, how could he still think about other things with his weak strength? It's good to be able to survive. After turning on the system and obtaining the shock escape, he has been thinking of ways to improve his strength, and his mind is no longer in the original book. After all, there is no World War II in the big plot of the original book. Now thinking of Senju Nawaki's death and Tsunade's depression, Yi Ming couldn't sit still. He looked at Namikaze Minato and said, "Did Jiraiya ask you to come to me? Also, to support Orochimaru?" Namikaze Minato nodded and said, "Master Tsunade asked Jiraiya-sensei to ask me to come to you, because Master Tsunade got the news that Nawaki was also sent to the battlefield. Master Tsunade was worried." Is that true? Konoha really wants the Senju clan to exterminate. It is good. I'll leave as soon as I'm ready. After saying that, Yi Ming walked towards the house. After taking a few steps, Yi Ming suddenly asked, "Is Kushina okay?" In the past 3 years, although Yi Ming has not returned to Konoha, he is also using other methods to communicate with Kushina, but he knows that there are some things Kushina would not have told him in the letter. She's all right, Namikaze Minato answered with some hesitation. Yi Ming frowned and didn't ask Namikaze Minato anymore. He was going back anyway, and he would know what happened by then. Yi Ming hurriedly packed up and comforted the three of Konan. Under the reluctant eyes of Konan and Yahiko Nagato, he and Namikaze Minato quickly ran towards the land of fire. Oh, the teacher is really. He clearly said that he personally cooked to celebrate today, but now he just left, alas. In the hut where Yi Ming and the others lived, Yahiko lay on the table, covered his head, and complained listlessly. Okay, stop complaining. Konan came over with a plate of braised pork, which Yi Ming taught them to make. Teacher should have something very important to do, otherwise he won't leave in such a hurry. I understand this, and I don't know what the golden ninja said to the teacher. Yahiko still mumbled listlessly, looked at Konan and Nagato and asked, "Do you think the teacher will come back?" Konan's face froze when he heard the words, and then, with some uncertainty, he said, yes. She also doesn't know if Yi Ming will come back. After all, Yi Ming is Konoha's ninja. And now Konoha is facing the siege of several big countries. She really doesn't know if Yi Ming will come back. Nagato listened to Yahiko's words, but didn't say anything. It should be said that since entering the room, Nagato has been bowing his head, his bangs blocked his face, and he didn't know what he was thinking. Konan and Yahiko didn't notice Nagato's anomaly, because Nagato's normal times were more or less the same. Then what do we do now? Have you been waiting here for the teacher to come back? Yahiko asked blankly. Konan was silent. She didn't know what to do now. In the past, the three of them were running around for survival, and when they met Yi Ming, they settled down and learned ninjutsu with Yi Ming tomorrow, and they lived a fulfilling life. But now Yi Ming has left, and the ninjutsu they learned has also reached a bottleneck. Next, they just need to keep learning and wait for their bodies to grow. So, now that Yi Ming left, she was at a loss. Yahiko looked at Nagato, who had been silent for a while, and then at Konan, who was dazed, suddenly smiled, approached Konan, looked into her eyes, and said, "Konan." Konan looked at Yahiko, puzzled. "I found a secret." Yahiko grins at Konan. "What?" Konan was still confused. "I don't understand what Yahiko is trying to say." You like the teacher, right?" Yahiko touched his chin and asked with a smile. Ah, Conan's face instantly turned red when he heard the words, and he hesitated. How? How is it possible? How could I like the teacher? You, don't talk nonsense. Am I talking nonsense? Yahiko smiled and looked at Conan's blushing face. Then, he pulled Nagato in a daze over and held Nagato's shoulders. Even Nagato can see it. If you don't believe me, ask Nagato. Yes, wrong. Ah, Nagato glanced at Yahiko, who was winking at him, speechlessly, and then turned to Conan, whose face was flushed. After a moment of silence, he nodded. Conan's face turned even redder, glared at the two of them angrily, and said in a fierce, "Are you still going to eat it? I'll put it away if you don't." With that said, the dishes on the table are about to be taken away. Hey, Yahiko quickly protected the dishes on the table. Don't. I'm starving to death. After all, he devoured it and started to eat. Upon seeing this, Conan and Nagato also started. In an instant, only the sound of eating was left in the room. After a while, the three of them finished their meal, and Conan cleared the dishes. And Yahiko, who had been noisy all the time, seemed to be a different person at this time, sitting in the corridor outside the house, leaning against a pillar, staring at the pattering sky outside and froze. After a while, Conan, who had finished cleaning up the dishes, and Yahiko who came from Nagato, looked at Yahiko who was silent and lost in thought. Conan asked in confusion, "What are you thinking?" Yahiko, still looking at the cloudy sky, said slowly, "You say, why is this country crying all the time?" When Conan and Nagato heard the words, they all looked at the light rain outside, but did not speak. Ever since I was sensible, this country has been crying, except, Yahiko said this, retracted his eyes, and muttered to himself, except after the teacher and Hanzo battle, I saw that ray of sunshine. When that ray of sunshine, the moment the sun passes through the dark clouds, it is really beautiful, like a miracle, bringing light to the whole darkness. War, starvation, and endless slaughter have become symbols of this country. This country seems to be cursed, crying forever. Quote. When Yahiko said this, Conan and Nagato were all silent. And Yahiko himself stared blankly at the light rain outside. I don't know how long it took. Yahiko stood up abruptly, and under the suspicious eyes of Conan and Nagato, he reached out to the two of them. I plan to create an organization for all like-minded people to join this organization. The purpose of this organization is to let people understand each other, let go of hatred, save the suffering people, and make the world peaceful. And let the country stop crying. So, Nagato, Conan, do you want to come with me? Quote. With a sunny smile on his face, Yahiko looked at Conan and Nagato expectantly. Conan and Nagato stared blankly at the smiling Yahiko. After a while, they both put their hands on Yahiko's outstretched hand and stood up. When Yahiko saw this, the smile on his face became even brighter. He turned to look at the world where it was still raining, as if he saw hope. Yahiko, at this time, Nagato, who had been silent for a while, spoke up. Ha! Yahiko looked at Nagato and responded. Give this organization a name. Nagato looked at the light rain outside and said expectantly. Name. Yahiko turned his head again, looked at the sky covered with dark clouds, recalled the scene of the sun passing through the dark clouds in his mind, and a smile appeared on his face. Shao, let's call our organization Shao. The dawn of the world's dawn. Conan and Nagato pondered for a moment, then nodded in agreement. Since then, the Shao organization was born early because of Yi Ming, a little butterfly. Chapter 31. Just when the three of Yahiko founded Shao, a pitcher plant slowly sank into the ground on the edge of a rock 100 meters away from their house. When the picture turned, it was in a dark cave. Shao, the dawn of the world. The aged Uchiha Madara, after listening to Black Zetsu's report, was a little dazed for a while, as if he remembered something. Moment. Ben snorted disdainfully. Humph. Childish thinking, just as childish as that fellow Hashirama. It's really a childish idea. Black Zetsu nodded, then said, only by collecting tailed beasts and opening infinite Tsukuyomi can real peace be achieved. Uchiha Madara listened to Black Zetsu's words, did not respond, just remained silent. Oops. At this time, White Zetsu cried out strangely. Too hot-blooded, Xiao Xiao who traveled through the dawn of the world, woohoo, I'm so excited, I really want to poop, Am I going to poop? Uchiha Madara. Black Zetsu. White Zetsu's remarks broke the atmosphere that had finally been condensed, and also interrupted Black Zetsu's preparation of continuing to fool Dafa, as well as Uchiha Madara's memoirs. Uchiha Madara came back to his senses and ignored White Zetsu, who was squatting on the side to study. He looked at Black Zetsu and asked, "Isn't that kid awakened to Rinnegan's power?" "No." Black Zetsu shook his head. "What a waste." Uchiha Madara snorted in dissatisfaction. "Looks like I have to prepare another chess piece." After that, he looked at Black Zetsu and said, "Let me pay attention to the Uchiha clan and see if there are any good seedlings." "Yes, Master Class." Black Zetsu nodded. Immediately, after hesitating for a moment, he asked, "The kid who taught Nagato has already left, and the power of this kid's awakening seems to be pretty good. Shall we pull him in?" Hearing this, Uchiha Madara snorted disdainfully. "A guy without the blood of the Uchiha family is just a mere grain of sand in my eyes, don't pay attention to him." "Yes," Black Zetsu nodded in agreement. In his eyes, those without the blood of the Otsutsuki family were indeed inferior to those of ants. "That class of adults, what's the arrangement on Nagato's side?" Black Zetsu thought about it and asked. "Nagato has formed a deep bond with those two little devils, and when he loses what he has, he will have great power." "Wait a minute, didn't they create an Akatsuki organization? Although that so-called demigod is just a bigger ant in my eyes, and he is not even qualified to dance with me, but for ordinary people, his strength is still good, and he is qualified to be my pawn." Quote. In the darkness, Uchiha Madara's pair of scarlet Sharingans shone with blood-red light. "Orochimaru-sensei, hurry up." On the border between the land of fire and the land of grass, a 13 or 14-year-old boy dashed forward. Behind him was a pale man with long black hair and golden snake eyes. This man is none other than Orochimaru, who now has the name of Sannin. The boy just now is the only direct descendant of the Senju clan, the younger brother of Tsunade, one of the Sannin, and the grandson of Senju Hashirama, Senju Nawaki. And behind Orochimaru, also followed by more than a dozen Konoha ninjas. Because of Danzo's three-pitted goods operation, Rock Shinobi directly invaded the country of fire, and therefore Rock Shinobi's supply line was lengthened. And the reason why Orochimaru and the others are here is because Konoha got information. Rock Shinobi has a shipment of important supplies that will be shipped. Looking at Nawaki, who was full of energy in front of him, Orochimaru gave a rare smile. Today, he is not that crazy scientific maniac. Senju Nawaki is the younger brother of his friend Tsunade and his disciple, so he and Nawaki still have a very deep bond. And there is no country of fire yet, and this place has already been investigated by the advance team in advance, so Nawaki is not too worried when he shouts, "Orochimaru-sensei, hurry up." As the only seedling of the Senju family, Nawaki is very well protected. Although he has been on the front line several times, he is always in a very safe rear. Nawaki, who has always followed his grandfather Senju Hashirama as an example, is the first time he has carried out such a dangerous mission, so that made him very excited. Haha, Nawaki is really brave. Orochimaru looked at Nawaki, who was like a runaway wild horse, followed with a smile, and said in a hoarse voice, "Yes, yes, Master Nawaki is indeed the grandson of Hashirama-sama. His momentum is very similar to Hashirama-sama. Haha, that's the grandson of Hashirama-sama. Maybe he will be the next god of the ninja world in the future." Haha, seeing Master Nawaki's smile reminds me of Hashirama-sama. It's so nostalgic. When I saw Hashirama-sama back then, I was still a little kid. The other members of Orochimaru's sneak attack team also started talking when they heard Orochimaru's words. Most of these Konoha shinobi are old people in their 40s and 50s. Yes, in the ninja world, especially for ninjas with an average life expectancy in their 20s, 40s and 50s are already old people. And most of them have seen Senju Hashirama, so they also take extra care of the grandson of the god of ninja. And Orochimaru listened to the words of the people around him, and looked forward to Nawaki's eyes, even more gentle. However, just as everyone was touting Senju Hashirama and Nawaki, Orochimaru suddenly felt a sense of unease. Immediately after, boom 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 boom, under the dull gazes of Orochimaru and others, Nawaki flew up a hill, and then, bursts of explosions sounded. Senju Nawaki was swallowed by the smoke and fire. Orochimaru, Konoha crowd. Everyone was stunned. looking at the fire in front of them, they were all stupid for a while. Nawaki. Orochimaru was the first to regain his senses and was about to charge forward. However, at this moment, more than 24 dark shadows quickly landed, surrounding Orochimaru and the others. The 20 or so people who suddenly appeared, all wore black cloaks, masks on their faces and Iwagaku's forehead protector. Orochimaru scolded secretly, knowing that he was in an ambush. But my heart is also full of doubts, not to mention their actions this time, only the high level know. How did Iwagaku know an ambush in advance? Moreover, the route of the sneak attack was decided temporarily. How did Iwagaku get the information? Unless Orochimaru's eyes, looking at his people coldly, everyone who saw Konoha, all looked alert, no one had the slightest abnormality. Humph. Orochimaru snorted and looked away, and now the most important thing is to see how Nawaki is doing. If Senju Nawaki were to die here, he would be speechless if he didn't say how to explain it to Hokage. He was single in Tsunade. Looking at Rock Shinobi who was blocking him in front of him, Orochimaru's golden snake eyes narrowed, and then he raised his hand. Hiss. Orochimaru's hands turned into pythons and flew towards the Rock Shinobi in front of him. Earth style, Earth Rock Wall. Wind style, Wind Blade. Several Rock Shinobi in front of Orochimaru, facing Orochimaru's attack, quickly formed seals, and then, a wall of earth first appeared in front of them, and then, one after another, wind blades flew towards Orochimaru's python. Moment. Orochimaru's python, cut into pieces by the wind blade. Also at this time, the remaining Rock Shinobi and Konoha's ninjas fought thoroughly. The border between the country of rivers and the country of wind. Inside the medical department at Camp Konoha. Lord Tsunade, there is another one here. The poison on his body has almost spread to the inner meridians, and we can't get rid of it. Master Tsunade, the main medicine for the antidote, the dragon snake grass is almost used up. Master Tsunade, the one here, the aorta of the heart is ruptured, and you need to sew it up. Master Tsunade. At this time, the medical department was busy, and the wounded were lifted from the battlefield and sent here. Of course, all those who were brought here were the wounded who could still be rescued. Since Konoha has not yet established a real medical department, there is an extreme lack of medical ninjas, and medical ninjutsu is extremely rough. Therefore, some seriously wounded, ordinary medical ninjas, cannot be treated at all. And Tsunade of the medical ninjutsu grandmaster became the busiest one. As time passed, the number of wounded in the camp became less and less, and Tsunade could finally rest at this time. After walking out of the wounded camp, he came to his own camp and sat on an office chair. Tsunade drank water and flipped through the report on the desk. During this period of time, Tsunagaku's face-to-face attack has weakened a bit, but her battle with Chiyo has intensified. Lairu, today Chiyo developed a new toxin and put it on the battlefield, and she must develop an antidote as soon as possible to escort the Konoha shinobi on the battlefield. Therefore, during this period of time, the entire battlefield has become a personal show of poisoning and detoxification for the two of them. On the battlefield today, a new type of toxin appeared, and Tsunade had to drag his tired body to develop a new type of antidote. Putting down the water glass, Tsunade flipped through the new toxin report for a while, stretched, and looked up to see a picture frame on his desk. Tsunade picked up the photo frame and looked at the few people above with a sweet smile on his face. I saw in the photo, Jiraiya, Orochimaru, standing on both sides. She was standing in the middle, and her hands were pressing on the heads of two little boys. One of them had black hair and a delicate face. It was like a porcelain doll, but the little boy seemed to be very dissatisfied. He was pouting and staring at her with rolled eyes. The other little boy has brown hair, a smile on his face, and two blushes on both sides of his cheeks, looking a little silly. And beside the black-haired boy, stood a red-haired girl. At this time, the red-haired girl was holding the black-haired boy's arm, pouting her bun face, and staring at her angrily. Cuckoo. Tsunade looked at the few people in the photo, and the smile on his face became more and more prosperous, especially when he saw the black-haired boy who rolled his eyes in dissatisfaction. He even rolled in front of him with laughter. Stinky brat, what's wrong with touching your head? What a stinky fart. Tsunade looked at the photo and scolded with a smile. And little Kushina, I was fascinated by this kid at a young age, and I won't be bullied to death by this kid in the future. I really don't know how to be reserved. At last, Tsunade's eyes fell on the brown boy, her younger brother Senju Nawaki. Looking at Senju Nawaki's naive appearance, Tsunade didn't know what to do, his heart ached, and the smile on his face gradually disappeared. Nothing will happen to Nawaki, right? Thinking like this, Tsunade shook his head again. No, although Nawaki also went to the battlefield, but the teacher promised me that only Nawaki would be in the back, and, please, after Jiraiya, go to Yiming and go there. With Orochimaru and Yiming here, Nawaki should be fine. I think too much. Tsunade rubbed his brows and forcibly suppressed the unease in his heart. Master Tsunade. At this moment, a medical ninja wearing a white coat walked in. It's Shizuka. What's the matter? Looking at the female ninja who came in, Tsunade looked up and asked. Lord Tsunade, here is a letter from you, which came from Konoha. A female ninja named Shizuka handed the letter to Tsunade, who was full of doubts. After Tsunade received the letter, she opened the letter with doubts. When she learned from the letter that her younger brother was going to attack Rock Shinobi's important substances with Orochimaru, her heartbeat seemed to stop. Anxiety intensified. Didn't he promise that Nawaki wouldn't do these dangerous missions? Tsunade slapped the letter directly on the table, and the unease in her heart was even stronger. She stepped out of the tent in one step, and she was going to find her brother. However, as soon as she got out of the camp, she saw a figure standing in front of her. Lord Tsunade, is something wrong? Need help? Kato-dan asked Tsunade with a smile on his face. Go away. Tsunade doesn't have time to pay attention to this now. The guy who was close to her during this time, after blowing Kato-dan with a punch, started to run towards the border between the land of soil and the land of grass with all his strength. Don't be in trouble. Don't be in trouble. Tsunade, who was running with all his strength, trembled a little. Today's Senju family is almost dead in name only. In addition, her grandmother had passed away some time ago, and she was the only relative left in this world, Nawaki. If something happens to Nawaki. No, certainly not. Tsunade shook his head, engrossed in his journey. Finally, 4 or 5 hours later, she came to the border between the land of earth and the land of grass. As soon as he arrived here, Tsunade sensed that a battle was taking place in front of him, and without taking a rest, Tsunade speeded up again. By the time Tsunade arrived, the battle was over. Looking at the pitted battle marks around, it is not difficult to see the fierce battle that just happened. At this time, the sky started to rain lightly, and the sky became dark. Tsunade saw Orochimaru's familiar back from a distance. He didn't care about anything else, and hurried forward. Orochimaru, where is Nawaki? He didn't. Quote. Tsunade's words come to an abrupt end. Because, she saw a person lying in front of her, a boy covered in blood. At this time, the young man was dying, his clothes were lifted, and it could be seen freshly that all the internal organs of this young man had been taken away. Who else could this boy be if he wasn't Senju Nawaki? At this time, Senju Nawaki is not dead, and he is indeed the Senju family. It has a strong vitality, and even when the internal organs are taken away, there is still a trace of breath. Even so, Senju Nawaki was dying. Ah, no, impossible. No. Looking at Nawaki who looked like this, Tsunade covered his mouth and screamed, and then, with tears in his eyes, he stepped forward with light green chakra in his hands and pressed against Nawaki's body. Rope. Nawaki, you'll be fine, elder sister is here, elder sister won't let you die, you must hold on. Tsunade's hands were shaking, desperately trying to deliver chakra to Nawaki, her hands covered in Nawaki's blood. But Senju Nawaki's internal organs have been taken, how can Tsunade stop the bleeding? Maybe it was Tsunade's input to heal chakra, or maybe Nawaki, who was full of blood, recovered a little bit of energy. He slowly raised his hand, stretched out to Tsunade, and said intermittently, Sister, this, ah. Nawaki didn't finish his words, he was completely exhausted. His hand fell slowly, and a pendant was placed in the palm of his hand. That's Senju Hashirama, the pendant given to Tsunade. It's back in Tsunade's hands again. No, ah. Looking at Nawaki, who was completely dead, Tsunade let out a roar, and then burst into tears. Orochimaru on the side stared blankly at Nawaki, who had died. For a time, his mind was full of images of Nawaki's life. After a long time, Orochimaru slowly raised his head and looked at the gloomy sky. The rain hit his face and slowly flowed down his cheeks. Whether it was rain or tears, he was the only one who knew. Life is really fragile. Hearing Tsunade's cry, Orochimaru's eyes turned to Naoki's body again. After muttering to himself, he took 2 steps forward and put his hand on Tsunade's shoulder, trying to comfort him. However, Tsunade suddenly stood up at this time, grabbed Orochimaru's collar, and while weeping, snarled at Orochimaru, "Didn't I ask you to take care of him? Why did he die? Why will he perform such a task? He clearly promised me, he will not perform such a task, why? Ah." Tsunade's words were somewhat incoherent. Those in the front were questioning Orochimaru, and those in the back were asking themselves and their teacher at the same time. In the end, Tsunade knocked Orochimaru out with a punch. Orochimaru couldn't dodge, and he slammed into Tsunade's angry punch. Like a cannonball, he smashed a dozen trees in a row, and then he lay on the ground vomiting blood. "Sir Orochimaru." The dozen or so wounded Konoha shinobi around looked at Orochimaru, who flew out backwards, and hurriedly wanted to step forward. "All stop. Cough cough." Orochimaru's hoarse voice stopped everyone. He stared blankly at the dark sky, holding a bug in his right hand. "Yeah, why, teacher?" Orochimaru squeezed the bug in his hand into pieces, and muttered to himself in a voice that only he could hear. "Woo." Tsunade knelt beside Naoki, sobbing. Whoosh whoosh. At this time, a dozen figures fell down. And these people are Konoha shinobi who came with Tsunade, including Kato Dan. Kato Dan looked at Tsunade, who was crying, with a sad expression on his face, and walked slowly to Tsunade's side. "Tsunade, condolences, people will not die. Get out of me." Before Kato Dan could finish speaking, Tsunade raised his scarlet eyes and roared at Kato Dan. "Ah!" Kato Dan's face stiffened and he silently stepped aside. Whizzing, 2 more figures fell down. The people who came were 2 16 or 17-year-old youths, with 1 gold and 1 black hair, Yiming and Namikaze Minato, who came from the land of rain. When Yiming saw the scene in front of him, he was stunned for a moment, and then he came to Tsunade's side. At this time, Tsunade also raised his head and looked at Yiming. Yiming looked at Naoki, who was lying on the ground with his internal organs hollowed out. He met Tsunade's eyes full of blankness, sadness, anger, etc., and opened his mouth, not knowing what to say. "Why?" Yiming and Tsunade looked at each other for a moment. Tsunade suppressed his voice and spoke again. "Huh." Yiming looked at Tsunade suspiciously, not understanding what Tsunade wanted to say. Boom. Tsunade punched Yiming's stomach, but before Yiming could fly out, Tsunade hugged Yiming tightly, laying on Yiming's shoulder, crying and roaring, "Why are you here like this? Late. Why are you coming back now? Woohoo." Tsunade was in Yiming's arms, crying like a helpless child. "Sorry, I'm late." Yiming hugged Tsunade with one hand, the other hand clenched tightly into a fist, and his eyes first explored the surrounding situation sharply. When he saw the bodies of rock shinobi on the ground, his eyes were full of murderous intent. Suddenly, in Yiming's perception, he sensed a trace of the familiar chakra residual breath, which made him stunned for a moment. Then, fell into deep thought. Because, he recognized the trace of the familiar chakra residue. This is the breath of Shimura Danzo. He is a traveler, knows most of Hokage's plots, and understands the darkness of Konoha. And Shimura Danzo, the king of Konoha Pot, was included in Yiming's list of untouchables in the past. Therefore, Yiming is very familiar with Danzo's chakra. He will go around. Now I can sense the remnants of Danzo's chakra breath here, which shows that Danzo should have been here not long ago. Thinking like this, he looked at Naoki's corpse lying on the ground, and seemed to understand something in his heart. Tsunade left, took Naoki's body, and returned to Konoha. And Yiming, along with Orochimaru and the others, were heading towards the camp here on the battlefield. Now the battle situation here is not very optimistic. Iwagakure not only dispatched Tsuchikage, but also 2 rock shinobis Jinchuriki, 4 tails and 5 tails. It can be said that the most dangerous part of Konoha's 3-way battlefield is here. Moreover, even 3rd Hokage, who has always been in the rear, and the group of elders of the 3 Danzo, who have the Konoha F 4 inches group, are all gathered here. From this, we can see the danger of Konoha at this time. Along the way, looking at Orochimaru, whose aura was getting gloomier, Yi Ming knew that Naoki's death might be slowly changing Orochimaru, and perhaps soon, Lang Jun Orochimaru, the science madman in the original novel, would appear. Yi Ming didn't say much about this, maybe that's the way for Orochimaru. Inside Konoha camp, Yi Ming followed Orochimaru and entered the headquarters directly. And Yi Ming also really saw it. In his previous life, he was called the combination of Konoha F4 by netizens. In the headquarters at this time, Sarutobi Hiruzen was sitting high in the main hall of 3rd Hokage, who was in his prime. And 3rd generation small partners, Shimura Danzo, Udatane Kaharu, and Mitokado Homura, are located in the lower positions respectively. In addition to these 3 people, there are also the Ino-Shika-Cho clan in the headquarters, as well as the head of the Uchiha clan. As for why Yi Ming knew that these 3 were from Ino-Shika-Cho and Uchiha. No way, that's too good to admit. The Ino-Shika-Cho trio, one is always fat, the other is always a goatee, looks like a military division. Just looking at these 2 people, it is almost certain that these 3 are the Ino-Shika-Cho trio. And the people of the Uchiha family are even more recognizable, not to mention the bright ping-pong family emblem on the clothes. Just looking at his appearance, Uchiha didn't run away. When everyone in the headquarters saw Orochimaru bringing Yi Ming in, they all looked over. Everyone first glanced at Orochimaru, and then, everyone's eyes turned to Yi Ming. Regarding Yi Ming, although everyone present had never seen him, they were all familiar with him. After all, Yi Ming had previously killed Sanjiao, and his record of fighting Hanzo alone was there. Oh, Orochimaru is back. Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded, then sighed. I already know everything. I didn't expect Rock Shinobi's intelligence power to be so good, alas. What a pity Naoki. Quote. Orochimaru looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen, who looked pampered, with a complex look in his eyes. Humph. At this time, Shimura Danzo snorted coldly, and then, with a pair of gloomy eyes, stared at Yi Ming and said, You are Kimura Yi Ming, right? Do you still have any ninja consciousness? There is no superior order. Staying outside for 3 years privately, do you want to betray the village? In an instant, the atmosphere in the entire headquarters became depressed, and everyone's eyes turned to Yi Ming. Even 3rd Hokage looked at Yi Ming and didn't stop Danzo's questioning. In the face of Danzo's questioning, Yi Ming squinted his eyes slightly, and then he smiled and said, Oh. So does Lord Danzo think that I have betrayed the village? Say it. Yi Ming looked away from Danzo and looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen. What does Lord Hokage think? Do you think I'm betraying the village too? Yi Ming's eyes stared straight at Sarutobi Hiruzen, as if asking him what he meant, as if Sarutobi Hiruzen would really betray the village as long as Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded. Presumptuous. Udatane Kaharu patted the table and looked at Yi Ming angrily. Kimura Yi Ming, what is your attitude? Reverse. Mitokado Homura also stood up and scolded. Someone, put this traitor down on me. After saying that, the 2 Konoha Jonins quickly entered the headquarters and grabbed Yi Ming. Humph. Yi Ming snorted coldly in the face of the attack of the 2 Jonins, but he didn't see any movement. A layer of milky white light appeared on his body, and then, the 2 Jonins grabbed at him were directly shaken back. Boom boom boom. The ground began to shake continuously, and the tables and chairs in the headquarters were rattled by the shock. After Yi Ming shook the 2 Jonins back, he looked at the people in the headquarters again, and took a step slowly. Crack clap clap. The earth was still shaking, and cracks appeared on the ground. These cracks continued to spread and slowly expanded. Lord Hokage, do you think so too? Yi Ming asked Sarutobi Hiruzen again. Everyone in the headquarters did not speak again, and they were all stunned by Yi Ming's hand. Quietly, let the whole earth shake. If you move your hands, will it be okay? Therefore, everyone's eyes, including Danzo, turned to Sarutobi Hiruzen. Orochimaru, on the other hand, glanced at his teacher with a complicated expression. Facing Yi Ming's question, Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at Yi Ming deeply for a while, then, facing the 2 Konoha Jonin, he waved his hand. Go on. Yes. The 2 Jonins hurriedly withdrew. They had also heard about Yi Ming's record. At the same time, they also understood Yi Ming's strength and how strong they were. They didn't want to conflict with Yi Ming. After the 2 Jonins went out, the earth returned to calm, but the cracks that appeared on the ground proved that everything just now was not an illusion. Haha, Yi Ming. Danzo is also for Konoha's sake. Don't mind, I know your situation, you are a native of our Konoha, and your parents are also Konoha's heroes. How can you betray after being a hero? Where's Konoha? Sarutobi Hiruzen continued with a smile on his face. You have worked hard for the past 3 years while practicing outside, but now Konoha is in crisis and needs your strength. As a member of Konoha, I hope I can help Konoha to overcome the difficulties together. Sarutobi Hiruzen's fluffy words took away the conflict just now, and after Yi Ming was listed as a hero, Konoha was an indispensable member. Yi Ming really admired this cheeky and shameless attitude. However, admiration is admiration, but Yi Ming is the one who dislikes such people the most. If it weren't for the fact that his layout had not started, and his strength was not enough to overwhelm everything, he would have already overthrown this hypocritical guy and become the boss himself. You know, his system is a plundering system. Haha, Lord Hokage is very polite. Since I am a member of Konoha, and the village needs it, it is my duty. No matter what Yi Ming thought in his heart, he still faced Sarutobi Hiruzen with a smile on his face. Haha, that's good. Sarutobi Hiruzen heard the words, seemed very happy, and laughed. Everyone in the headquarters was silent, looking at the foxes, one big and one small, who were pregnant with ghosts. Even Danzo closed his mouth, as if everything just now was none of his business. Very good. As expected of our Konoha supernova, he possesses such power at a young age. Not bad, not bad. Sarutobi Hiruzen, looking at the cracks on the ground, praised Yi Ming with a smile on his face. Road. Haha, it's thanks to Lord Hokage. Yi Ming smiled. Kaido, if Lord Hokage hadn't sent me to the front line, I wouldn't have awakened my bloodline, would I? Wow. When everyone heard the words, they were all dumbfounded. Even Sarutobi Hiruzen, who was smiling before, froze when he heard Yi Ming's words. After all, when they sent Yi Ming to the battlefield, their clear purpose was to let Yi Ming die on the battlefield. And the reason why Yi Ming died was because Yi Ming and Jinchuriki got too close. Jinchuriki is Konoha's ultimate weapon, they need absolute control. Even future partners must be within their control. So, that's what made Yi Ming go to the front line. These are all well known to everyone, and now Yi Ming said it directly. Even Sarutobi Hiruzen, who was full of political abilities, didn't know how to talk for a while. Immediately, there was an embarrassing atmosphere in the entire headquarters. However, at this moment, a man in his 20s, wearing a white robe, walked in abruptly, breaking the awkward atmosphere in the headquarters. As soon as this man came in, he felt the strange atmosphere in the entire command. Yi Ming also turned his head and looked at the man. When he saw his cataract-like eyes and his face, he immediately understood who was coming. Hiyashi, is it Rock Shinobi again? When Sarutobi Hiruzen saw the person coming, he turned his attention and looked at Hyuga Hiyashi. Yes, Lord Hokage. Hyuga Hiyashi nodded and said slowly, Rock Shinobi withdrew from the Land of Fire a day ago, and their tent is now empty. What? When everyone present heard the words, they all stayed silent. Sarutobi Hiruzen was even more puzzled and asked, what the hell is going on with Rock Shinobi? Why did he suddenly quit the country of fire? Didn't they say that they want to shoot down our Konoha? Even the supplies in the later period are on fire. The country is fortunate, why did they suddenly retreat? Are they planning something again? Hearing this, Hyuga Hiyashi said embarrassedly, the follow-up transportation is a smoke bomb released by Rock Shinobi for the retreat, there is no follow-up transportation at all. And it is true that they retreated, because, I just received the news that 5 days ago, the third Raikage of Cloud Shinobi Village, with an elite ninja force composed of an elite ninja, attacked Iwagakure, and all the important facilities of Iwagakure were destroyed, countless ninjutsu property was looted by Cloud Shinobi Village. Because of this, Tsuchikage had to withdraw from the Land of Fire. Quote. After listening to Hyuga Hiyashi's words, everyone including Sarutobi Hiruzen was dumbfounded. Great. At this time, the patriarch of the Nara clan, Nara Deer, stood up. Everyone came back to their senses and looked at Nara Shikaichi. Nara Shiku looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen and said, Lord Hokage, now that Cloud Shinobi has attacked Iwagakure, Iwagakure's Onogi will never give up. I predict that there will be a war between Cloud Shinobi and Rock Shinobi. And when the war broke out, they would never take care of us again. Therefore, the only enemies we faced were Sand Shinobi and Mist Shinobi, who was just about to move. However, judging from the current situation, Mist Shinobi will not do it again. Because, when Cloud Shinobi and Rock Shinobi go to war, we can divide more troops, and even if Mist Shinobi wants to go to war, we are not afraid of them. Quote, I have to say that the people of the Nara family are born to be commanders, their heads turn fast, and everyone is still retreating for Rock Shinobi. When they were a little confused, Nara Lui analyzed the whole situation. Haha, good, good. Sarutobi Hiruzen smiled after hearing Nara's analysis. Listening to Nara Deer's analysis, it seems that the war will end soon. After fighting for so long in World War II, Konoha was already overwhelmed by the siege of the three major powers. Now that the war is about to end, how could he be unhappy? At this time, even Danzo, who had been posing with a face, had a smile on his face after listening to Nara Shikaichi's analysis. Yeah, Cloud Shinobi attacked Rock Shinobi. Rock Shinobi retreated and left behind an ambush. Not only did he ambush, but he also killed the only seed of the Senju clan, and even if he killed it, he also hollowed out Senju Naoki's internal organs. This Rock Shinobi is really arrogant. Aren't we afraid that we will besiege Rock Shinobi with Cloud Shinobi? Or is it that Onogi is actually an idiot? Facing Konoha and Cloud Shinobi, even if the village is wiped out, have nothing to fear. Quote, Yi Ming looked at Konoha F4 who was full of joy, and spoke with a meaningful expression. Immediately, everyone's smiles froze. Sarutobi Hiruzen, Udatane Kaharu, and Mitokado Homura were all stunned. Shimura Danzo's face became gloomy again. When the three of Ino Shikacho heard the words, they all lowered their heads, as if there was gold on the ground. As for the current patriarch of the Uchiha clan, he looked at Yi Ming and looked at the four Sarutobi Hiruzen meaningfully. As for what happened to Hyuga Hiyashi, I was a little dazed. At this time, Orochimaru looked at his teacher in a complicated way, clenching his fists. Yi Ming watched with interest Sarutobi Hiruzen's changing faces. He wanted to see what Sarutobi Hiruzen had to say, and what kind of explanation he wanted to give Tsunade. In a moment, Sarutobi Hiruzen coughed a few times, looked at Yi Ming and said, maybe Onogi has some other conspiracy we don't know. However, regarding Senju Naoki, our Konoha will definitely let Rock Shinobi explain it. Ha ha. Listening to Sarutobi Hiruzen's unconvincing excuse, Yi Ming snorted and said nothing more. After all, now is not the time to turn his face. Cough. That. Yi Ming, although Rock Shinobi has retired now, and Cloud Shinobi may not care about our Konoha, but Sand Shinobi is still fighting. Tsunade has returned to Konoha because of Naoki. The battlefield over there is only Hitaki Sakumo. You go to the battlefield over there and help Hitaki Sakumo. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at Yi Ming and said solemnly. Yi Ming watched Sarutobi Hiruzen quietly for a while, and then nodded, okay. Who did this horse riding? Among the retreating troops of Rock Shinobi, Onogi looked at the information in his hand and said angrily, we ambushed Orochimaru's team. We also killed the only seedling of the Senju clan. Why don't you know? At this time, Onogi was very angry and irritable. A few days ago, they also announced in high spirits that they would shoot down Konoha and hit the hinterland of the Fire Nation. Victory is in sight. However, Cloud Shinobi's gang of muscle-headed idiots attacked them for no reason and hit their base camp. This is like fighting the king. Seeing that we are about to hit the high ground, victory is at hand, but the crystal was stolen, and the person who stole is still a teammate. Can you not be angry? Father, I can guarantee that this is definitely not what we did, it was framed by someone. The tall Lois said angrily. Now that their house has been stolen, how can they have time to do something ambush? This is a false accusation, a blatant false accusation. Whoosh. Onogi took a few deep breaths, narrowed his eyes slightly, and looked at the information in his hands. After a long time, Oyemu showed a smile, haha. This Konoha is okay. Even his own people are not spared, so cruel. Ha. Huangtu was a little puzzled when he heard Oyemu's words. Onogi looked at his son, his eyes twinkling and said, a few days ago, I received a message that Konoha was going to sneak attack on our post transportation, and even the sneak attack route was sent to me. However, the news of the transportation of important materials in the later period was originally a smoke bomb that we released so that we could retreat smoothly. I ignored the person who sent the news. Now it seems that the water in this Konoha is really deep. Quote. Then do we want to announce this news? Huangtu also understood what was going on, and suddenly said angrily. They were lying in the wood leaf nest, and they threw the pot on their heads on their horses. Are they really regarded as the king of pots? Danzo. No need. Anamu waved his hand, his eyes narrowed and said, it's good in Konoha's nest. It's better that they take all their strong men out. The 3 major ninja villages were besieged, all of which could be resisted. Konoha was too strong. Quote. Hearing this, Huangtu nodded in agreement, and immediately said with some concern, Konoha won't use this as an excuse to launch a counterattack against us. Lois was a little worried. After all, their current nest was just taken over by Cloud Shinobi. Going back this time, a battle with Cloud Shinobi village is inevitable. If Konoha counterattacks them, they are not Konoha, and it will be really difficult to face the attacks of the 2 major ninja villages. No way. Anamu frowned and shook his head. Although Konoha blocked this war, it cost a lot. Besides, if they dare to counterattack, they are not afraid that we will announce the truth. Haha, yes. Huangtu laughed when he heard the words, and at the same time was a little fortunate that he was not in Konoha, otherwise, he would have to be on guard at any time when he would be stabbed in the back by his own people. The other side, Sarutobi Hiruzen and others stood in front of the camp, looking at the backs of Yiming, Orochimaru and others who were leaving. Their faces turned gloomy instantly. After Konoha F4 returned to the headquarters in silence, Udatane Kaharu took the lead and said angrily, Hiruzen, look at that kid's attitude. Look at you, Hokage, and our elders. That's right. At this time, Mitokado Homura also said, he just pointed his nose and said that we murdered the same villagers. What does he mean? He made us the king of pots. Senju Nawaki's death is obviously in the middle. For the ambush of Rock Shinobi, that Senju Nawaki is useless, and we are to blame. You fool. Cough. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at the 2 angry friends, especially when he heard Mitokado Homura's words of the Pot King. He subconsciously glanced at Danzo with a sullen face on the side, and said in his heart, I don't think you 2 are the Pot Kings, but the Pot Kings. The king himself is here. Sarutobi, what are you looking at me for? Sarutobi Hiruzen's look was accidentally seen by Danzo, and he suddenly said gloomily. Cough. Sarutobi Hiruzen coughed a little awkwardly, and then, facing Udatane Kaharu, Mitokado Homura waved his hand. Okay, let's stop. Hiruzen, what do you mean by that? Do you just let that kid be so arrogant? Udatane Kaharu disagreed. That's right. For no reason, blame us for Senju Nawaki's death. Really think of us as a group. Cough cough. Seeing that Mitokado Homura was about to open his mouth, Udatane Kaharu hurriedly reminded him. Mitokado Homura was reminded and knew that he was about to show his mouth, so he stopped quickly, and then he didn't forget to glance at Danzo. As small partners of Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo, they are very accustomed to what Sarutobi Hiruzen throws the blame on Danzo every day. And Danzo's face became even more gloomy. Okay, don't talk about Senju Nawaki. Sarutobi Hiruzen knocked on the table, looking straight at Udatane Kaharu and Mitokado Homura. His death was for Konoha. When Udatane Kaharu and Mitokado Homura heard Sarutobi Hiruzen say this, they looked at each other immediately. Understood. It turned out that the death of Senju Nawaki was really caused by Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo, these 2 shrewd calves. Hiruzen, at this time, Danzo said with a gloomy face, the existence of Kimura Yiming has already threatened Konoha, and he must not stay any longer. Hearing this, Sarutobi Hiruzen glanced at Danzo, and then said lightly, okay. Then you're going. When Danzo heard the words, he was at a loss for words. He was a tough guy, but he wasn't stupid. Judging from some of the strength Yiming showed just now, if he faced Yiming, it was not certain who would win. You must know that the current Danzo has not transplanted Hashirama cells and Sharingan. Although he is also a cage-level powerhouse, he is almost at the bottom. Sarutobi Hiruzen saw that Danzo was speechless for a moment, sneered in his heart, and then said, Yiming is our Konoha's ninja, and murdering the same village ninja is a big sin. Don't mention it again. Konoha needs such power now. Udatane Kaharu, Mitokado Homura, and Danzo all cursed shamelessly in their hearts. The border between the land of rivers and the land of wind. Inside Konoha's camp, due to Tsunade's departure, no one can deal with the poison that Chiyo developed. Therefore, Konoha gradually fell into the disadvantage of the 2-day battle. The whole camp was a little dead. In front of the camp gate, 4 or 5 Konoha ninjas are guarding the gate vigilantly to prevent Sand Shinobi from suddenly attacking. Suddenly, a burst of dust flew up in front, and then, hundreds of figures rushed towards the camp. Enemy attack! Enemy attack! The Konoha shinobi guards stationed at the gate immediately issued a warning when they saw this scene. After a moment of effort, the originally silent camp became active in an instant, and even Hatake Tsukumo quickly came to the gate. Hatake Tsukumo put his hand on the handle of White Fang's sword and stared straight ahead. The surrounding Konoha shinobi looked a little nervous, one by one getting ready for battle. When those figures got closer and closer, everyone could see what they looked like. No, it's not the enemy, it's reinforcements. Reinforcements are coming. Haha, the reinforcements are finally here. Great, great. The leader is Orochimaru-sama. Orochimaru actually led the team, so Rock Shinobi was defeated. Lord Orochimaru is here. Haha, Rock Shinobi must have been defeated by us. Let's just say it. How could Rock Shinobi be our Konoha's opponent? You know, Lord Hokage has been dispatched. It would be unreasonable for Rock Shinobi not to be defeated. That's right, Lord Hokage is the strongest Hokage. With him around, we Konoha are worry-free. When the Konoha shinobi people in the camp saw that they were all Konoha shinobi people, they cheered one by one. When I saw the leader, Orochimaru, one of the Sanins, it was even more joyous and lively. At this time, Hatake Tsukumo also put down his guard. With a rare smile on his serious face, he walked in front of the crowd, ready to meet Orochimaru's reinforcements. Orochimaru, why did you bring the team in person? The Rock Shinobi side was repelled. After a while, Orochimaru and the others came to Hatake Tsukumo. Hatake Tsukumo looked at about 500 or 600 reinforcements and asked Orochimaru. Orochimaru nodded, briefly explained the specific situation, and then stopped talking. Hatake Tsukumo frowned as he looked at Orochimaru, who was getting colder and colder. He didn't know why Orochimaru became like this. Senior Hatake, long time no see. Just as Hatake Tsukumo frowned and looked at Orochimaru again, a voice entered his ears. He looked around and saw a handsome young man looking at him with a smile. Who are you? Hatake Tsukumo looked at the boy in front of him and wondered who this boy was. He didn't recognize Yi Ming. After all, he was not familiar with Yi Ming, and in the past 3 years, Yi Ming had changed a bit, so he didn't recognize it. It seems that Senior Hatake is really a noble person. I am Kimura Yi Ming. Speaking of which, Senior Hatake saved my life, Yi Ming replied with a smile. Kimura Yi Ming. Hatake Tsukumo frowned and thought for a while when he heard the words, and then suddenly realized, it turned out to be the Konoha supernova who fought against Hanzo alone and killed the mountain pepper fish. Hehe, it's been a long time. I don't even recognize you anymore. Hatake Tsukumo's serious face showed a smile again, and he still admired Konoha's genius. Haha, Senior Hatake has won the prize. If it wasn't for you, my graveyard would have grown taller, Yi Ming said modestly. Okay, you've come all the way, I'm afraid you're tired, let's go in and talk about it. Hatake Tsukumo waved his hand and greeted everyone to enter the camp. After entering the camp, the rest of the ninjas were arranged to rest, and Yi Ming and Orochimaru, along with the 3 Ino Shikacho who followed, entered the headquarters together. After discussing the current situation with Hatake Tsukumo, Yi Ming was arranged to rest after the battle with Tsunade. The tent where Yi Ming rested was for a single person. After entering his tent, Yi Ming opened the long-lost attribute panel. Name: Yi Ming. Bloodline: Sage Body. Beginning: Chakra Attributes: Full. Bloodline Limit: Shock Fruit. Arcane: Inverse, 8 Inner Gates. 5th Gate. Ninjutsu: 3 Body Technique: Earth Style, Earth Rock Wall, Earth Style. Overall Strength: Shadow. Medium. Looking at the extremely simple attribute panel, Yi Ming fell into contemplation. Over the past 10 years, every day for the first 10 years has been a little scary. Although we now have a system, this system needs to occupy territory and plunder the world. And his current strength can't crush all enemies at all, so he has been planning and waiting. He accepted the 3 Nagato as apprentices, which was the first step in his layout, and choosing to stay in Konoha was the second step. That's right, he is planning the Kingdom of Rain and the Kingdom of Fire. With his understanding of Yahiko, the Shao organization will definitely be established by Yahiko as in the original book. And when Shao was formed by Yahiko, that was when he went to pick peaches. Although this may seem a bit inauthentic, in another way of thinking, if Yiming doesn't intervene, Shao will be someone else's pawn sooner or later. There's only one trouble left now. Thinking of the 3 of Yahiko, Yiming couldn't help thinking of Uchiha Madara, who is still hiding in the dark, and the filial son Black Zetsu. These 2 people are more yin than the other, especially Black Zetsu, who can be called a peerless old yin gang. In order to save their mother, they have planned for thousands of years. This filial piety is even more amazing than Chen Zheng's saving mother. If he's going to intervene with Akatsuki, it's probably going to be against Uchiha Madara and Black Zetsu. And now that Uchiha Madara is old, Rinnegan also gave Nagato. But after all, he was an existence that once stood at the pinnacle of the ninja world. With his current strength, I'm afraid he still can't do the job. It seems that you can't jump too much. Yiming felt that it was better not to touch Uchiha class too much now. He was not bound to the invincible system. His current strength had to rely on him to improve step by step. Touching Uchiha Madara's brow now would not benefit him. So, the Nagato side can't be too jumpy yet. Nagato and the others can't intervene, so they can only focus on Konoha. Yiming pondered again. The water of Konoha is very deep, which can be seen from the original work. Especially in this period, Konoha has not been finished by Konoha F4. Although the Senju clan was obliterated. But the powerhouses of Konoha Ming, as well as Hitaki Sakumo, Sanin, and Sarutobi Hiruzen who are at their peak, Shimura Danzo are also quite strong. And secretly, there are hidden masters of various clans, as well as a large number of civilian ninjas. If Yiming came directly to overthrow Sarutobi Hiruzen's rule, it would be a suicide attempt. Therefore, Konoha can only make plans slowly, and there is no rush. Konoha's ninjas are hard to win, so we can only start with civilian ninjas. Yiming secretly planned the next path for himself. Master Yiming, the poison here has spread to the heart, please take action. Okay, come right away. Lord Yiming, the aorta here is ruptured, and the bleeding can't stop, please come here. Okay, here we come. Lord Yiming, it seems that there is a new type of toxin here. The current antidote doesn't work, please come and have a look. It is good. In Konoha's medical department, because of Tsunade's departure, some of the medical department that could not support it, after Yiming arrived, it resumed operation. And Yiming came here because of his plan to win over civilian ninjas. Although civilian ninjas belong to the lowest level of Konoha, they can be huge in number, and attracting these civilian ninjas will be of great help to his follow-up plan to swallow Konoha. As for, why does Yiming practice medical ninjutsu? That's what he asked Tsunade to teach, when he was going to improve 8 inner gates. In order to improve 8 inner gates, he must understand the human body. Therefore, in the past 3 years, in addition to his research, reverse 8 inner gates and Gendun, he has practiced medical ninjutsu the most. Yiming's talent is not low. In addition, he has 2 lifetimes, and his thinking ability is also very good. If it weren't for his physique before the system awakened, he would have become a genius like Namikaze Minato. And after the system has transformed his body, whether it is ninjutsu, illusion, or medical ninjutsu, he can understand everything and even draw inferences from one thing. Therefore, Yiming's medical ninjutsu is not much worse than Tsunade's. After another busy day, Yiming left the medical department after all the seriously wounded were treated. Looking at the afterglow on the horizon, Yiming was a little lost. More than 3 months have passed since he came to the battlefield of the Land of Winds. In the past 3 months, Tsunade has launched numerous attacks, while Yiming has been staying in the medical department to gain reputation and has never fought a frontal battle. This also led to the fact that many Konoha shinobi fans almost forgot that Yiming had the strength to compete against Hanzo alone. Now he has completely replaced Tsunade's original position. Like Tsunade, when he mentions him, the first thing that comes to mind is not his combat power, but medical ninjutsu. In the past 3 months, a lot of things happened. First, a war broke out between Iwagakure and Cloud Shinobi Village. Then there is, because of the death of Nawaki and the death of the Senju clan, Tsunade was hit a bit hard, a little disheartened, and depressed. Although he did not leave Konoha as in the original book, he stayed in Konoha, either going to the casino or going to the casino. Take a drink to relieve your worries. But Yi Ming knew that Tsunade would leave Konoha sooner or later if this continued. And Tsunade staying in Konoha is undoubtedly the greatest help to him. Therefore, during this period of time, when Yi replied to Kushina, he would ask Kushina to take more care of Tsunade. After all, now that Tsunade is in Konoha, the only people who are closest to him are Yi Ming, Kushina and Jiraiya Orochimaru. As for her teacher Sarutobi Hiruzen, Tsunade is no fool. After the silent extermination of the Senju clan and the bizarre death of Nawaki, Tsunade understood everything. This war should be over. Looking at the afterglow in the sky, Yi Ming regained his senses and muttered to himself. Yi Ming is so elegant. At this moment, a low and hoarse voice entered Yi Ming's ears. Yi Ming raised his eyes to look at Orochimaru, whose breath was getting more and more gloomy, and said meaningfully, "Hee. But, by the way, why are you free to come here now?" Quote, during this period of time, Orochimaru has been fascinated by ghosts and ghosts. These 4 words are vividly displayed. As long as it's not a war or an important meeting, Orochimaru is hardly seen. Yi Ming estimates that the current Orochimaru may have already started his research. Ha ha, Orochimaru watched Yi Ming let out a gloomy laugh, and looked at Yi Ming and said, "It seems that Yi Ming is very interested in my business." Yi Ming shrugged, walked towards his tent, and said, "I'm not interested in men, and I'm even less interested in your business." Orochimaru and Yi Ming walked side by side, and said slowly, "Oh. Then I wonder if Yi Ming is interested in the study of life." Yi Ming stopped and stared straight at Orochimaru. Orochimaru looked at Yi Ming with a smile on his face. Yi Ming suddenly smiled, and then said, "I'm still young, so I'm not interested for the time being." Say it. He waved at Orochimaru and left. Naturally, he could hear why Orochimaru was looking for him, but he just liked it. His medical ninjutsu was not inferior to Tsunade. However, he is not interested in doing any research with Orochimaru now. What he has to do now is to complete his own layout and perform the tasks of the system smoothly. He is very eager for the rewards of the system. Ha ha, temporary. Orochimaru looked at Yi Ming's leaving back, licked his lips with his tongue, and turned to leave. Day 2. Just got the news that Tsunagakure has reinforced 2,000 troops again. This is Sand Shinobi's hard work. Now has reached the critical moment of the war. After fighting for so long, Tsunagakure is almost exhausted. The decisive battle is coming. Everyone, get ready. Inside Konoha's headquarters, Hitaki Tsukumo slowly opened his mouth while looking at the high-level executives present. Are 2,000 more reinforcements? Naradir frowned when he heard the words, and then said, "Originally, there were more than 5,000 ninjas in Sand Shinobi, but now we have 2,000 reinforcements. We are about to face more than 7,000 ninja troops. Now our total military strength is less than 4,000 people. Do we need reinforcements from the village?" Quote, unnecessary. Hitaki Tsukumo waved his hand, looked at the crowd with bright eyes, and said to himself, "With our strength, even if we face double the number of enemies, we can still win. What we have to do is to hold back Sand Shinobi's high-end combat power. I estimate that the time for the big battle will be about 5 days, and then I will stop kazing." Quote, immediately, Hitaki Tsukumo looked at the trio of Orochimaru and Ino Shikacho. "Orochimaru, you come to hold one-tail Jinchuriki. Ino Shikacho will deal with the Chiyo brothers and sisters. I will solve the battle on my side as soon as possible. Come here, support you." Hitaki Tsukumo's words were full of confidence, as if he could easily deal with Kazekage. You know, it's funnying. Tsunagakure's highest combat power. And with such an existence, Hitaki Tsukumo dared to say that he would end the battle as soon as possible. The person who said this, if it wasn't for Hitaki Tsukumo, Konoha's White Fang would have been sprayed to death with empty water. Because of this, it can explain the power of Hitaki Tsukumo. "I have no problem here," Orochimaru nodded when he heard his arrangement. Somber reply. We have no problem. Ino Shikacho responds as well. Okay. Hatake Tsukumo nodded and turned to look at Yi Ming. Then, the wounded on the battlefield will be handed over to you. Yi Ming has no opinion, but this time he won't just stay in the back and do medical work. In a blink of an eye, 6 days have passed. During these 6 days, Tsunade mobilized all the troops to prepare for this battle over the fate of the Land of Winds. The same is true for Konoha. In the past 6 days, everyone has been preparing, even Orochimaru, who has been elusive, has been recharging his energy for the past few days, preparing for this battle. Soon, the time has come to the 7th day. On this day, the big battle between Konohagakure and Tsunade comes. Early in the morning, the 2 major ninja villages began to mobilize their troops and headed for the battlefield. The battlefield of the 2 big ninja villages was chosen in the desert 30 miles in front of the 2 camps. This place is already within the scope of the Land of Wind, and all the yellow sand around it. Such a battlefield is undoubtedly beneficial for Tsunade. However, Konoha's side is not wrong, even if the enemy on the opposite side is more than double his side, even if the terrain here is favorable to sand shinobi, they are still not afraid. Because they are the ninjas of Konoha, the ninjas of the strongest ninja village in the ninja world. When the 2 sides set up the battle, on Tsunade's side, Chiyo and his younger brother, Ebizo, came out. At this time, Chiyo was not as old as in the original book. She faced thousands of Konoha shinobi fighters without fear, and shouted at the Konoha shinobi fighters, "Muyi Baya, get out of here." Quote. The voice was full of anger and resentment. In this war, her son and daughter-in-law were all cut by Hatake Tsukumo. It can be said that the white-haired person sent the black-haired person. Now, only one grandson is left alone. Her hatred for Hatake Tsukumo is not too deep. In the middle army, Hatake Tsukumo heard Chiyo's voice full of resentment, and he also came to the front of the main force, folded his arms, and said coldly to Chiyo's eyes full of hatred, "If you want revenge, then come here. No need for so much nonsense." Wuyi Baya. Chiyo stared at Hatake Tsukumo, gritted his teeth and said, "Today you will die." Say it. Chiyo took out a scroll and spread it out in front of him. White secret technique. 10 people in Jinsong. Wang Wang Wang. After Chiyo opened the scroll, a seal was formed, and then, the runes on the scroll seemed to come alive, and blue chakra appeared. Kakaka. 10 chakras emerged from the scroll, surrounding Chiyo, and then, 10 strange-looking puppets in white robes appeared around Chiyo. This is. The trio of Ino Shikacho came to Hatake Tsukumo and watched the 10 puppets summoned by Chiyo, their pupils shrunk slightly. This is the pinnacle of Sand Shinobi's generation of puppet masters, Kanamatsumonziman, a puppet that claims to be able to conquer a city by himself. White secret technique. 10 people in Jinsong. Quote. Hatake Tsukumo introduced the origins of these 10 puppets to the Ino Shikacho trio. After all, they were the ones who had to hold Chiyo in the plan. However, he did not expect that since Chiyo could use the puppet of the legendary puppet master. It's a bit of a hassle now. Aoki. Seeing the 10 Kinmatsu people surrounding Chiyo, Hatake Tsukumo shouted solemnly. Lord Tsukumo, a man in his 30s, when he heard Hatake Tsukumo calling him, hurriedly responded. You bring the cutting-edge team to assist Louis and the others, and deal with the Chiyo brothers and sisters together, Hatake Tsukumo said solemnly. Yes. Aoki nodded and brought 10 Konoha shinobi to the Ino Shikacho trio. The Edge team is a raid team formed by Hatake Tsukumo, and everyone's strength is Jonin level. And Hatake Tsukumo asked his elite team to assist the Ino Shikacho trio. It is conceivable that Hatake Tsukumo was afraid of the 10 people in Kinmatsu. After Hatake Tsukumo's side was ready, Chiyo's side took the lead in launching the Horn of War. Wuyi Baya, take your life, Chiyo roared, and then, 10 fingers controlled the 10 people of Kinmatsu and rushed out towards the Konoha army. Charge me, destroy them. Ebizo saw his sister rushing out, waved his hand, and issued an order to charge Sand Shinobi's army. And he immediately rushed out. Kill it, for Sand Shinobi, go ahead. Destroy them, kill Konoha's awful, rush. The Sand Shinobi army of 7 or 8,000, like the tide, followed Chiyo, behind Ebizo, and began to charge towards the Konoha army. Kill me. Seeing this, Hitaki Sakumo was also unequivocal, waved his hand, and also launched an attack. Kill. Victory is at hand. Defeat them, we can go home. Kill. Konoha Wansheng. Kill it. Konoha's 3 or 4,000 ninja army also launched a charge. In the main force, the Inoshika Cho trio and the sharp-edged team took the lead and rushed towards the Chiyo brothers and sisters. Looking down from the sky, the two groups of troops, like the tide, are constantly advancing forward. In a moment, the two ninja armies finally collided. Wind style, great breakthrough. Wind style, Itachi. Wind style, 100 blades strangulation. Earth style, earth wall. Lightning style, ground walk. Fire style, great fireball technique. When the two ninja armies collided, the ninjas on both sides launched ninjutsu one after another, and for a time, the ninjutsu of the 5 Flowers 8 Gate flew all over the battlefield. Tsunade is mostly in wind style. Except for wind style, most of them are puppet masters. Therefore, when the Sand Shinobi army launched an attack, one by one, wind style ninjutsu and extremely strange puppets flew into the Konoha army. And Konoha doesn't have so many limitations. All kinds of ninjutsu with different attributes are activated, and there are also illusion ninjas, which activate illusion to control the enemy. For a time, the entire battlefield became a grinding disc of flesh and blood, and people were killed or maimed at every moment. Is this a large-scale war? It's really tragic. Behind the Konoha camp, Yi Ming was commanding the medical ninjas of the medical team to carry out first aid to the wounded who were lifted from the battlefield, while observing the changes in the battlefield. At this time, the Chiyo brothers and sisters have already fought with the Inoshika Cho trio and the sharp-edged team. More than a dozen people besieged the Chiyo siblings, the Inoshika Cho trio and the sharp-edged team, but they still didn't have the upper hand, which made Yi Ming a little unsure of what to say. However, it seems that Chiyo is much stronger than the original book. Or in the original book, Chiyo didn't do his best to deal with the Red Sand Scorpion. Yi Ming looked at the battlefield. Chiyo controlled the 10 people of Kinmatsu to emit ninjutsu one by one, and the perfect combination of attacks. For a time, he had a re-evaluation of Chiyo's combat power. Yi Ming looked away from the battle situation on Chiyo Inoshika Cho's side, and looked at Hitaki Sakumo and Orochimaru who had not yet shot on the battlefield. Immediately afterwards, he turned his eyes to the back of Sand Shinobi, the third Cage, who was wearing a black robe and a wind shadow hat, was known as the strongest wind shadow, and an elderly monk beside him. Is he the Jinchuriki of One Tail? Yi Ming's gaze, staring at the monk beside Feng Ying, confirmed in his heart. Are you going to make a move? Jinchuriki dispatched so soon. Suddenly, Yi Ming saw the monk standing next to third Cage. He didn't know what to say to Feng Ying. Then, he started to walk towards the center of the battle situation slowly. Hitaki Sakumo, who had been staring at third Cage, saw the monk beside third Cage and started to move. The war has just started, so Jinchuriki was dispatched. Hitaki Sakumo frowned. Then, looking at Orochimaru beside him, he said, "One Tail Jinchuriki, please." "No problem." Orochimaru licked his lips and answered in a hoarse voice. Then, he stepped up and walked towards the monk. Along the way, he met Sand Shinobi who was killing him, and he raised his hand to kill them all. Then, "It's time for me to go too." Seeing Orochimaru leaving, Hitaki Sakumo slowly put his hand on White Fang's hilt. His eyes narrowed slightly, and his sharp eyes stared at third Cage. The distance between him and third Cage was several hundred meters, but Hitaki Sakumo seemed to ignore the distance and didn't move half a step at all, as if he wanted to attack Cage from here. Third Cage seemed to sense something, and his eyes turned to Hitaki Sakumo. The White Fang of Konoha. This is the first time he has faced Muyi-baya. In the past wars, he sat in Tsunade, and everything on the battlefield was the responsibility of the Chiyo brothers and sisters. He only heard about the man who beheaded Chiyo's son and daughter-in-law. Suddenly, third Cage felt the darkness in front of his eyes. The world seemed to lose its light, and then, a cold light blinked in front of him, and then, a knife light cut third Cage in half. And Hitaki Sakumo appeared at the position where third Cage had just stood. Pity. Hitaki Sakumo frowned as he looked at third Cage who was cut in half by him, and said with some regret. What a fast swordsmanship, as expected of Konoha's White Fang. In midair not far from Hitaki Sakumo, third cage stepped on black iron sand, suspended in the air, watching Hatake Tsukumo in admiration. And the third cage, that was cut into two by Hatake Tsukumo, just now turned into black iron sand and gathered towards third cage. Sure enough, the shadows of every village are not so easy to kill. Hatake Tsukumo held the white fang short sword and stared at third cage. Third cage looked at Hatake Tsukumo and didn't speak again. He raised his hand, and then, countless black iron sand flew up from the ground. Magnet-style iron sand when rain. Countless black sand iron, around third cage, gathered into sharp iron needles, which shot towards Hatake Tsukumo like raindrops. Whoosh whoosh. Facing the iron needles that were attacking him like raindrops, Hatake Tsukumo held the white fang short sword back, greeted the rain of sand and iron, and charged towards third cage. Hatake Tsukumo's speed is very fast. He is like a cheetah walking in the rain. Countless sand and iron needles fly past him, but he doesn't even touch his clothes. Whoosh. It was too late. Almost in the blink of an eye, Hatake Tsukumo came to third cage, and the white fang short sword held in his backhand simultaneously swung out and slashed towards third cage's neck. Ha! The moment Hatake Tsukumo swung his sword, in front of third cage, a dark curtain of black iron sand appeared. Hatake Tsukumo's knife slashed on the hard iron sand black screen, directly dividing the entire iron sand black screen into two halves. However, the figure of third cage disappeared behind the curtain and appeared dozens of meters away. Humph! Third cage snorted coldly, his hands clasped together, and the chakra on his body rioted. Immediately afterwards, a steady stream of black iron sand gathered towards the top of his head. Just a moment, above third cage's head, a black cuboid with a height of 20 or 30 meters and a width of 10 meters appeared. That is Lord Fengying's Iron Sand World method. Lord Fengying has taken action, haha. We are sure to win. Lord Third Cage, but the strongest cage in history, Lord Third Generation shot, this time we will win. Brothers, go, kill all the fools of Konoha. Kill it. Third Cage made such a big move, and immediately attracted the attention of everyone on the battlefield. When Sand Shinobi saw the black cuboid suspended in midair, their morale rose immediately. Because, they know, their shadow shot. That's their Tsunade, the strongest wind shadow in history. This one has all shot, this wave is stable. Third Cage's action not only boosted the morale of Sand Shinobi's army, but even Chiyo, who was fighting with the Ino Shikacho trio, had a smile on his face. Haha, did you finally make a move? Chiyo took a look at the fight between Third Cage and Hatake Tsukumo. I hope Cage can help capture Yibaya alive. This way I can take revenge myself. Obviously, Chiyo has confidence in Third Cage, even if Hatake Tsukumo is strong, but she doesn't think that Hatake Tsukumo will be Third Cage's opponent. She only hoped that Third Cage would not kill Hatake Tsukumo, and it was best to hand it over to her alive. The magnet style that controls the sand iron. It's really a powerful bloodline limit. At this time, Orochimaru also joined One-Tail Jinchuriki. On the opposite side of Orochimaru, he had turned into a half-tailed beast, and the whole person seemed to be the blessing of a small one-tail. He glanced at the wind shadow, and then turned his eyes to Orochimaru again. Junior, you are not my opponent. Surrender now. It's better that I can't control myself and kill you. The poor monk doesn't want to make more killings. Like the blessings of a monster, with a look of pain on his hideous face, he looked at Orochimaru and said. Oh, Orochimaru looked at the half-tailed beast with interest. If my information is correct, One-Tail Jinchuriki of Tsunade is a monk, right? As a monk, why do you want to participate? What about such a war? Ah, Fenfu covered his head in pain and shook his head. After sobering up a little, he looked at Orochimaru with a pair of beast pupils and said, although the poor monk is a monk, he is also a member of the Wind Kingdom. This battle is about wind. The fate of the country, I have to fight. Hee. Orochimaru laughed when he heard the words, and then said in a hoarse voice, you have a reason to fight, so do I. Stop talking nonsense, let's fight. Ninja summoning Wanshi Lujun. After Orochimaru said that, he pressed his hands to the ground, and then, countless lion majesty rushed towards Fenfu like a tsunami. Fortunately, the surrounding ninjas have made a battlefield for the two of them, otherwise, with so many snakes, I still don't know how many people will be killed. Facing the tsunami-like group of snakes, Fenfu sighed slightly, and seemed to be saying to himself, the poor monk has no time, so let this little life of the poor monk be for Sand Shinobi and the Wind Country. Make the final contribution. Shuzu. I'll leave it to you next. Goodbye, Sand Shinobi, goodbye, the Land of Wind. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.